I could be
I'm
Kevin
very-
Hart in a
I'm
laugh
very-
contest.
I'm very good at fighting.
There we go. And we're live.
Oh, Jesus.
That's some heavy stuff about Hazel, eh? I wouldn't dare repeat that to Hazel. My goodness.
I was
I'm
like,
out.
I was so confused. I was like, wait, what is going on? Where are you going with this? I got it. I got it. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I thought he was serious at first too. He's like, oh shit. About to shut off this camera real quick and I'm out.
Yeah, I just figured, we're going live, so the first thing we should do is just throw somebody under the table immediately.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely great. I'm gonna post this too so people can join us.
Absolutely.
Get back to this.
Raider, feel free to post that into announcements if you want.
Yeah, I'm gonna work that right now.
No problem, bro.
All right, I'm back.
Fluffy, do you still get snow?
Dude, it snowed all day yesterday. It melted. It melted today, but it snowed all day yesterday.
Oh.
So, and it was like, it was 80, like it was mid to high 80s all last week. So we had like a 60-degree swing in temperature, and it snowed.
Can I give you the biggest virtual hug?
I mean, dude, the thing is, like, you can't live here and expect it to be warm on a steady, regular basis until June. Like,
yeah,
our spring will come in sometime in March, and it might be really, really warm. This year happened to be the snowiest year on record, or like the third snowiest year on record. So we did have a lot of snow. It wasn't very cold, but we had a lot of snow. And I mean, dude, it was in the 80s for 3 days, and there was still ice and snow on the ground. Like, I went biking on Thursday, which was the last day. It was 80. It never even approached freezing temperatures in the lows. Like, they were all in the 50s and 60s. And when I went for my ride with my buddy, the lake, like in his neighborhood, completely covered with ice still. And that's a massive lake. It's not like a tiny pond. Like, it's a big ass lake. So yeah, it's been interesting. It's what it does here, man. It'll get cold, it'll get warm. You just go out and enjoy it. I mean, things are green. It's all that matters.
Oh yeah. Man, it's like a switch here. It's like we've been looking at snow, and then all of a sudden all the snow is melted, and like instead of seeing salt and shovels out and about, I'm starting to see things like mulch and barbecues being brought out. And I don't know. It's just different because like usually I'm used to your weather, right? I'm not used to seeing, I don't know, it's just weird. Not used to it being warm.
I'm all about it though, man. Like the cool thing here is like the changing makes you appreciate the seasons. So like when spring rolls around, I'm all about it. I love being outside. Like, my gaming suffers because
there we go.
I just want to be outside and I don't want to like sit inside and play games.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's a good reason to take some time away from games, is to go get sunshine.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the reason I brought it up is because like I noticed just the other day, like there's always a point in the winter when it starts to get to the end where when the sun starts to come around for like the first time, you feel that raw heat on the back of your neck for the first time, and you're like, and I'm not being punished for this right now. So we just had that feeling.
There's legit like the warm sun. Like all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, I stepped outside and the
like
sun's warm again. Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, my in-laws are all from St. Louis. So for Easter, we go down to St. Louis and participate in gang activities. I mean, celebrate Easter. And and it's so warm there, dude. Like Like we drove down and it was a longer drive. So we were in the car like 10 hours and we're like half hour from our destination in the city. And it's just beautiful outside. And I'm like, dude, like it's gorgeous. I might have to go for a run when we get there. And like we unpack the car and I step outside, it's like mid 60s, and I'm like, okay, I need to just go for a run. And they're like, okay, well, do you want us to wait to order dinner? And I'm like, I have no idea when I'm gonna be back. Like, I don't know how far I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna Forrest Gump it. Like I'm just gonna start running and I'm gonna run until I do not feel like running anymore. And you guys just eat. I'm a big boy. I will figure it out. And it was good that they didn't wait because I ran for like 2 hours.
Yeah, damn. That's a lot of running.
I mean, when you have warm sun and green grass and like trees are budding, man, and you haven't seen that in like months, you just want to just take it all in,
Wanna get out there.
No, I feel that for sure.
Smell that fresh air. Smell dry pavement. Dry, folks.
Pavement. Yeah.
Dry.
I mean, granted, I was in the city, so like the fresh air is city fresh air, but take it.
I feel you for sure.
All right, we should probably get this started here. I love the weather talk though, because it's been getting hot here and it's been nice. But we got some Destiny to talk about for sure.
Okay.
Let's do it. And we're going live in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, SweatySpookz.
And what is up, Guardians? This is Native Raider, and we are
The
Blue
Blueberry
Potato
Lounge.
Thumbs Lounge Discord
The
slash
holiday
podcast.
Yes.
Blueberry Thumbs. Let's go.
Blueberry potato thumbs nipping Admiral casts.
Did you guys catch our Blueberry Lounge intro the other week?
No, I don't think so.
I believe
we
I know
did
I
a
listened.
Blueberry Lounge. Yeah, we did a Blueberry Lounge intro for you guys.
Okay,
I
I'll have
gotta
to take
check
a
that
listen
out.
back tomorrow morning.
I'm finishing up the
was
last
it-
of the GDC one, and then you guys are next on the list.
Yeah, it wasn't this last one with Two Titans and a Hunter peeps. It was the one where it was just us. Like
That-
from 2 weeks ago, I
okay.
think.
That's the one I just started listening to. Actually, was the Two Titans and 100 one.
Yeah, it was the one before that. It was
Okay.
the one where it was just us. Anyways, sorry to derail
Actually, no,
your
I think
intro.
I think I did actually. Yes, I did listen. I did hear that. Yep. I remember it now. I had to think about it because the Two Titans and a Hunter is what threw me off.
Yeah, I had it all planned out, but Rob threw a wrench in my plans, but it worked out well. Anyways,
All right. So,
hi.
how has your week been, both of y'all? I hope you guys have had a fantastic week. I know mine's been busy, but let me know about yours first, Sweaty.
Well, it's been all right. We're getting back into the swing of things. I know today's Monday. We're a little bit late on the recording. We apologize to our listeners. However, you know what? Life happens sometimes, and here we are. And I think the wait was worth it, personally. But my week has been good. In Destiny, I've gone flawless, I guess.
Big news, huh? For this guy. It went flawless. No big deal.
I
Well,
turned it
no.
on. It just happened.
He was half asleep,
Actually-
using one hand.
I don't
me
even
see,
play anymore. I just sign on, and my car just has a flawless ticket on it.
No, I did play quite a bit. I need to get a number now because I'm curious on that particular number. How many matches of trials did you play over the weekend? Well, let me look up that number for you, gentlemen. I got Destiny Tracker up here. If we take a look, this week, 127 matches. Now, I don't know what point that was flawless, and I know that I did 4 full cards after flawless, trying to get the shotgun again, all of which would come with Cascade Point. All of them, 2 of which were Slide Shot and Cascade Point. So I was like, wow, okay, 2 out of my 3, 4 rolls are all the exact same, I guess. Thanks, RNG.
Why did you keep doing new cards versus just farming the wins on the last card? Or the
Well,
first
you
card?
know, I had played a couple of matches afterwards and won a couple, but I still didn't get the drop, and I was like, I'm not confident. I don't know what's going on with the changes anymore. I know for a fact I can get one if I turn in my card, and I could just play and get more, whatever. So that's all I did, because I followed the path of knowing that reward was at the end of the ticket rather than never knowing if it was going to drop because of
Yeah,
RNG.
we get that.
So yeah, that's why I went that route. And even though, drops were minimal to say at best, and they were all the same, which was kind of a similar theme with my immortal drops because they all. Anyways, moving on. This week was great. How was your week, Fluffy?
That was good, man. What happened? The weekend was pretty chill. We got some trials in. Got a Ron raid in. We did like an all clan raid on Saturday, and then we just did another follow up raid. And those were both fun. Trials was fun. We didn't go flawless. I don't have those streamer perks. No, we got dunked on. It was Stormy and Marky and I. So I was definitely playing with some Slayers, and we just couldn't get it going. We didn't have good luck with matchmaking. Outside of
trio?
Destiny, what's that?
Was that trios?
Yeah,
Got you.
yeah. We could have gone into duos or solo if I would have had more time.
Yeah.
But it was weird, man. Like we were playing Monday, and I actually got off way earlier than I was expecting. Like I normally probably would have played till 1 or 2 in the morning. I just started feeling sick, man. Like it's like one of those, like when your stomach hurts and you're like, I'm gonna have to take a big poop in like an hour.
Yeah.
Like it was one of those things. And I just kept playing worse and worse. And I'm like, you know what? Like, as much as I want to grind the shit out of this tonight, I'm just gonna chill out, go to bed, wake up, feel better tomorrow. It was the right call. Then yeah, man, had some family over on Saturday, had some friends that we haven't seen since pre-COVID over on Sunday. That was super cool. They're really good people, but my friend, she owns her own production company. Like they do commercials and stuff. She's big time Hollywood, so getting her on her calendar and free time with her is not always easy. So it's always nice when we can actually hang out with them. So it was really cool seeing some old friends and kicking it for a while. So good use of time.
That sounds awesome, dude.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry if the camera keeps going in and out. I don't know what the problem is, but this is the first time, so trying to figure it out. It's driving me crazy right now.
No, you're good, brother. You're good. I mean, even the pixelation can capture your handsomeness.
Damn.
You know what I noticed this weekend that I'm going to share with you guys so it can equally drive you crazy going forward. When you're playing trials next time, look in the top left corner of your screen where they show your trials rank. And the trials eye, like the iconic trials eye, kind of like taken from Egyptian art type of style to it.
Yeah.
It's squished.
Yes, it is.
Like it's horizontally squished in. Yeah, it's like someone pinched it in to make it fit in the circle. And it's horrible. Like it was messing with me on Friday. And then I showed Mark and Stormy. They're like, they didn't know what I was talking about at first. So I pointed it out, and then they're like, "Oh, you asshole!" Now that's all I'm gonna see when that like pops up in matchmaking. So you guys are welcome.
I gotta see that actually.
Right quick, speaking of trials, since we're on the topic, at the front of the show, I want to give a quick shout out. So during my time in trials, I encountered one particular player who had the GDC clan, and well, they were a part of the GDC clan, right? And I was like, oh, great. So GDC, BBL, gotta represent, hyping myself up. I was like, let's go. Well, sir, did I ever get beat at my own game with my own weapon mercilessly. And you know what? I was never so happy that it was somebody within the community. I just tip of the hat. So
Who was it?
Shout out to Fern, Furne, from the Guardian Downcast. I very much enjoyed our match. You may not know it, Fern, but I was attempting to be very competitive with you and failed at doing so. And I was having a great time. I was laughing about it. So well done. You played very well. And this is what community is all about. It made my day for that match.
That's cool.
That's awesome. Shout out to Fern from GDC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were last season we were playing trials. And Spooks, I don't know if you were with me then. But we totally ran into someone in GDC like randomly on one of our cards. I don't remember who it was, but we're all like, "Oh shit, GDC!"
And they're taking over, man. I think they're almost on their 4th clan.
And this
Yeah,
wasn't like a GDC 2 or 3. This was like OG GDC. Yep.
nice.
Damn,
And I know the difference.
that's awesome. Speaking of running with clans, I did run with was it Reaper and Matt from the Blueberry Lounge clan. We didn't get too
Nice.
far, to be honest. I mean, that was yesterday, and I was playing pretty shitty. And yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Here it is live. I'm sorry, because yeah, we didn't get too far, but it was fun regardless.
I mean, dude, it's just about the experience and the people, right? Like, do we really care about going flawless at this point? It's fun. It's great if you do, but you can totally have a good time without it.
You don't want one of those Cascade Point shotties, though? I mean, come on.
Exactly.
Who doesn't
I
want
mean,
that?
that's the
I was
thing,
just
right?
happy to
Like,
unlock the weapon.
if you stress out about it and like it's like your entire existence for the day or the weekend or the session or whatever, then you finally get the reward and it's like not even usable or like great, you're just like, okay,
Yeah.
was it all worth it? Like, was it all worth it, or should I have just had fun?
I've been honestly enjoying comp more than trials, and I only played trials yesterday because I was like, it's the weekend. I should try to go flawless, but yeah, I was really just wanting to go play comp, and I ended up doing that after we disbanded. But I've been liking comp a lot,
Yeah.
like, cause it's just different. It changes, and you still feel that competitive aspect of it. You know what I mean? Like, but it's nice because you
Yep.
get different maps, different modes. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
I like comp. I agree with you. It's a good time.
Apparently, I have mixed feelings about this particular stat. I posted this in the Discord the other day because I didn't know how to feel about it when I discovered this. But I'm playing trials, look up my own stats, and I see Rift top 1%, and I was like, what? I was like, I don't know if I should be proud or disgusted.
It's awesome, man.
Rift is actually kind of fun. I'm getting more used to it, and I'm enjoying it in threes. Not like the
Yeah,
sixes.
threes.
I'm cool with it, but in threes, like you can really kind of use some tactics and maneuver with your teammates, and kind of like, be that front line guy. That's what I like to do, is be the front line guy. Let them pick up the riff. I'll try to like clear a path for them. That's
Yeah.
one thing I do like about it. I didn't like it at first, but
You can have some really amazing games too, where the battles are going like back and forth for a long time.
yeah, I think
I've had a lot of fun games like that.
I think it was me and you, Fluffy, and I want to say maybe Kato or something like that, to where we kept stopping them right as they were about to dunk. That was on not Endless Veil, the other one.
Haven.
Yeah, like that was, man, that was a good one.
That is probably. I mean, I don't know if I'm ever gonna get better riff game than that, dude. Because like the amount of times we stopped them within a few meters of dunking. I mean,
Yeah.
one of the times they were
Mid-animation.
literally, yeah, they were
Yep.
literally in the ring, and we killed them out of the animation. Yeah, that was they had the run on us like 3 or 4 times, and we just kept shutting them down like right before they could get there. It was great.
Yeah, that was a fun one for sure.
Yep, I agree.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you can't tell, we're all very good friends here. However, what I want you to know is we have a guest. If you haven't figured it out, it goes by the name of FluffyFingersMD. So, I
Mhm.
think we figured out he's already doing pretty okay tonight, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm okay.
Mr. Raider, why don't you run us over the agenda for the show right quick, and then we can dive right into our guest questions.
Yep, we got a quick housekeeping. That won't take too long, just a little bit. We'll jump into the interview. Instead of going straight into the show topic like we normally do, after the Wheel of Misfortune, of course, we're gonna knock out the TWAB. It's a short one. It's got some good key little points, especially when it comes to trials. So we're gonna knock out that. Then we'll get into our show topic, which is mastering the Crucible basics, and we're just gonna kind of talk on the different things that we like, or that we use, or something that we notice, or certain principles we use in game, and hopefully help you out there as well. So we'll do that. We'll answer questions from the community, a few announcements, and then we'll call it a show.
Hey, let's dive right into it. All right, so housekeeping.
Hmm.
Let's do it. Blueberry Lounge clan. We've had a couple of people join us. We'd like to send out a special thank you to Sporked and a special thank you to Big Ugly Toe for joining the BlueBerry Lounge clan. Thank you, folks, for joining us. We
Yep,
really
for
appreciate
sure.
having you along with us.
Welcome. Also, want to thank everyone that showed up to the scrims. Our last scrims, we did a trials practice. This was last Thursday, and it was a lot of fun. A lot of people had a lot of like good commentary post game match to help everybody kind of get a little bit better. So shout out to everybody that showed up. Really do appreciate it. And sometime this week we'll schedule the next scrim for sure.
Absolutely. No, we had a blast that theme or that night.
Yeah, we actually ended up going with 4v4s. And that was
4v4
it's
trials.
fun, bro. I liked it. A lot of people liked it as well.
It was
4v4 trials.
different.
It was fun.
Yeah, very different. Like I know trials is like your typical trials experience at 3v3, but you throw one more person in there, it's like you almost have to be that just little bit extra careful.
Yeah, changes the dynamic for
cha-
sure with the lanes and
Yeah.
like, and you could split twos off if you want or 3 and 1. Like as far as flank maneuvers, it changes it for sure.
Yeah, it definitely changes the game 100%.
Big time. So, Mr. Fluffy Fingers, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself for maybe some of our listeners who may not know who you are, may have never heard of you before. Who's Mr. Fluffy Fingers?
Hi, I'm Fluffy. I like long runs in the woods. And no. I play this Destiny game. I'm one of those people who do a really bad job at playing other video games, even though I really love video games in general, like racing games, shooters, obviously, sports games. Like I love video games, but with whatever limited free time I have, it seems to just always go back to Destiny. It's not only the gameplay and the feel of the guns, but it's also because it's where a lot of my friends are and the community that we've built. So it's easy to jump online and find some friends to hang out with for a few hours when you do have free time. Um, I love PvP. I'm very average at it, but I continue to play it because it's challenging. I definitely enjoy endgame PvE stuff. Raids are fun. Obviously, I like GMs and stuff like that as well. Uh, let's see. Do a podcast. Episode 300 is this week.
Hey, huge
Yeah,
milestone.
I've been running a little bit. It's actually falling on 420. So we are having a very fun 420 episode 300 this week. Should be all sorts of stupidity. I didn't even create show notes for it. Like we're just going in
Hell yeah.
stupid all the way. Um I don't know what else. In past hobbies, like I dabbled with music for well over a decade. Used to race cars a lot and host car races. I taught snowboarding for like 8 years, ran a snowboarding league, um, ran all the public comps for skiing and snowboarding. Um, yeah, I don't know. I've been lucky in some of the careers and things that I've been able to do and loop them in with hobbies. So yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
me.
Hell yeah. Right. How'd you get your start in gaming?
Um, I mean, we played video games when I was a little kid. I remember playing Atari. I remember playing games on the computer. My mom got us a NES in the early 80s. Um, I was born I think the NES came out in 82, and that's when I was born. So I didn't get it obviously when I was that little. But we got the Mario Duck Hunt bundle with the super rad red gun. Um, and my mom was really cool because she bought me like and my sister and I like game like consoles, right? So we had a NES and we had a Sega growing up. But she was a single mom and she was a teacher. So we didn't have a lot of money. Like we were not rich by any means. Um So we would get gaming systems, but we wouldn't get a lot of games for the life of the gaming systems. Like we'd end up going and renting games a lot, because that was just more affordable. Uh, yeah. So I don't know, but that NES was definitely my start.
Awesome.
I
Yeah.
remember when renting video games was like a thing from a video store,
Uh,
the
Dude.
physical
Yeah.
hardware. And the cool thing about it then was like there was no online access when it came to video games. It was all like analog technology. So what that meant was your memory storage was typically a third party device outside of your system, typically a card. And
mhm.
whenever you put that card inside of your system, you have a rented CD or whatever it is, a game, and you save your progress. Once you finally get your own game, you like it. It was already saved. Like that was a big deal then because at, before then, you never got to save your game. Anytime you put in
Hmm.
your game in, you always had to start from the very start and start all over again. The only way
Yep.
to save your game, leave that sucker running.
Yep. And we totally did that with like Zelda and a few of the other games. So you could just leave them, just shut off the TV and leave it running, which is
Yeah.
really funny now that I think about it. Um, yeah. I mean, Sony like with the PS1, Sony definitely sold their own cards, but you went for the third party cards because they were like 3 or 4 times bigger,
Yeah, at the
right?
Yeah.
same price.
Yeah, at the same price. That's true. Yeah. Yep. And then some really cool people in Europe developed a chip that you could rip your PlayStation apart and solder into your PlayStation, and then you could just play burned games. So we got into modifying systems like back in the PS1 days, and so we would modify our PS1s, and then we go rent a game and copy it to a blank CD, and then you just had that game. So like as many games as you want to rent, you own for the price of renting them, which was super cool. And then when Xbox came out, in a similar fashion, we found that you could take the hard drive out, put in a computer hard drive, reflash it, and then you could run Xbox games. And you could also just turn it into a computer. So, like our Xbox Ones, we had 200 gig hard drives in, and at the time, like 200 gig
Jeez.
hard drive was
Yeah, that's huge.
huge, man. That was like
Yeah.
massive. So like we would play Xbox and we had the Xbox set up the same way. So the Xbox itself could just rip the game to the hard drive. So you could rent a game and then just straight rip it to your hard drive, and they were tiny. So it wasn't like a game was taking up like a lot of space. So we would just have like all these Xbox games ripped to our hard drives, and then we'd have like movies ripped to our hard drives and CDs ripped to our hard drives and all the emulators for the old systems. So,
Became like
you'd
a
have like
2000s media center.
yeah, like basically that's what it turned into. And so we'd have like old NES emulators and Super Nintendo and all that stuff from back in the day on our Xbox. But then we'd also network the Xbox so you could be like anywhere in the house and like pull audio or movies or whatever off of your Xbox while it's running. So it got a little nerdy with that in like the 90s and the 2000s.
That's awesome. I never got into all that, but I've heard about it, and like buddies would have it, and they tell me about it at school. It was like, no shit, like you could actually do that.
Well, yeah, but then you were like, you couldn't use Xbox Live because they could detect the size of your hard drive,
Yeah.
and then you just got banned. Like your account just
Yeah.
got banned permanently. So like it was cool, but if you wanted to play like Halo online, you had to go out to the internet and join someone's public server outside of Xbox, and then you just got dunked on because I'm sure that it was favoring them on the connection. And so like it was cool, but you also couldn't experience like the online stuff that was just starting out at that point. So
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
So let's go with this. What are some of your other hobbies besides gaming? Well, I guess we kind of extended into that a little bit with the jogging, but is there anything else outside of that?
yeah, I mean honestly, man, I really love running and cycling or biking. Um I if I have a choice, I want to run trails in the woods, mountains, whatever. Get me out there.
Hmm.
For biking, like I prefer gravel. Similar reasons, like get me on a gravel road out in the middle of nowhere, and yeah. So I think those two are definitely my biggest hobbies right now outside of gaming. I dabble a little bit in art too. Been trying to make myself draw more. So
See
Nice.
some D2 art. Get you for art of the
yeah,
week.
yeah, I do. I am working on some right now, actually, for a fitness contest. I was gonna try and put in a couple hours tonight, but this seemed like a better use of my time. So maybe tomorrow.
We'll see. Yeah. Don't
Hmm.
speak too soon. It might not be the best use of your time, but we'll try.
Yeah. And
Uh,
I'm still into cars a little bit. Like I have a very modified turbo Miata that I did pretty much everything on. So
Nice.
yeah.
that's awesome. I agree with you about the running, like trail versus like pavement, because
Yeah, dude.
it's something about being like in the. Well, me and my son, we went for a hike the other day, or yeah, yesterday, and we just kind of went into. I mean, I'm in the desert, but there's this like a certain area that we have over here that's like got a lot of trees and a lot of dead brush and everything like that. But it was like
Yeah.
off trail. We took the dog. The Mojave River is usually dry, but it's been like flowing good, like crazy, and it's
Nice.
been always dry. So we went over there. My dog like jumped in. Like we just had a great time, and it's something about that, man. Being just around nature itself.
Yeah.
Plus, it's better for your joints instead of that hard pavement.
Dude.
So,
Well, like, yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like I do a lot of road running because I'm a dad. Like, so I don't just get to go do whatever I want when I want. I have
mm,
very select times where I can disappear. And like if I'm running, like I enjoy distance, so I want to be out for at least an hour, if not 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. And so a lot of it just ends up being road because I can just leave my house, run around all the bike trails and stuff here and come back. But yeah, if you get out in the woods, man, like the ground is typically softer. You might have rocks, like so it is 50-50, but you're constantly changing up your foot positioning, right? Like on the road, it's just you're pounding pavement in the same like form. But in the trail, you have to like you're constantly looking down because you have obstacles and terrain differences and all this stuff going on that you're using different muscles and you're putting your feet in different places to avoid roots and rocks and sticks and whatever is in front of you. So it's easier on your legs because you're constantly using different muscles and flexing different areas and different pressure points. And then there's just the whole aspect that you're in the woods, so it feels more like you're playing than you're doing exercise, or at least for
Yeah.
me. Like
yeah,
I feel like a kid when I'm doing it. So
yep,
yeah.
I feel that, bro, for sure. All right, moving on to the next question. Actually, before that, last one on the on the running piece, I
Yeah, yeah.
promise.
Yeah,
I know
no,
I got to
dude.
move on, but have you ever tried those 5 finger shoes, the like Vibram 5 fingers, like the sock shoes that go into between the toe and all
Yeah.
that? Because you were talking
So
about different muscles and stuff, and I heard that that's like another thing that like it just completely untrains your body to where it's supposed to be more natural or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, so there's a lot of like back and forth on that, and some people really believe in the minimalist running. I had a pair of Merrells, but they were not the 5 finger ones, but they were minimalist Merrells. I definitely believe in cushion, and I think like those 5 finger things really became big in like the early 2000s, early mid 2000s, somewhere around there. And foam technology is so advanced in the past 5 years, like to the point that they almost banned some of it from the Olympics because they weren't sure if it was cheating or not. And
Yeah.
it isn't that it gives you spring, it's that it takes away less of your energy. So if you push on it, it rebounds more of your energy back versus if you push on it, less of your energy comes back to you. So it's all about losing as little energy as possible. So I think for that reason, like I prefer to go with the newer technology because it allows you to stay out there longer, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because you're getting more of that energy back, but you're also taking less force on your muscles and everything. Now, with that being said, I own 2 pairs of toe socks for running specifically. And it's a similar idea, especially on the trail. Having individual like toes for inside your shoe can help reduce blisters.
Hmm.
So I have found those like beneficial, but they are really weird. Like if you're not used to them, especially having things like in between your toes, um, it can be a gnarly sensation the first couple times.
Yeah, I
A little
feel it.
jarring.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, moving on to the next question in the interview. What got you into Destiny?
Um, so funny story. My cousin, who I actually do a lot of running with, she used to work for Activision. And so she worked for Activision when Destiny came out. And so she got Destiny day one. Like she had it like alpha time, because she worked for the company. Like she got access to all the games she wanted. So I was at her house the first day that she brought Destiny home, and she's like, this is a new game, like it's coming out, it's supposed to be really cool, it's from the makers of Halo, and I watched them play it, and I was like, eh, it's okay. And I tried to play PvP, and I was a Modern Warfare kid, and I just got dunked on. Or no, actually, I'm sorry, it wasn't that. I I I played the first story with her. That's right, the PVE stuff, and I was like, it's fine, but like I like Modern Warfare. Then fast forward to like a little bit later in the season, I went to my cousin's house in St. Louis, or maybe he came here. Either way, it doesn't matter. We were hanging out, and he had Destiny, and he's like, "You should try this." And he was big into PvP because he was very, very competitive in Halo 2 days, and I just got dunked on. Like this was when shotguns were really, really big, and like I could not do shit in PvP. And I remember just getting shotgunned over and over and over again, and there was nothing I could do. And I'm coming from Call of Duty where I had a decent KD. Like I was a very decent Call of Duty player. Like not top tier, but definitely way better than average. And so I was like, this game is not for me. Like I've seen the PvE part of it. PvP sucks. Like I don't get this whole being in the air bullshit, whatever. Fast forward to Taken King, November Taken King. I was gonna get a surgery and I had to be laid up for a week. And so I at that point in my life did not have a gaming system. And I just, everyone kind of goes through that phase where they just stop gaming for a bit. Like
Yep.
I had somehow gotten this mentality that I was too old to game and I had to be an adult now. And and then I later matured and realized it's my time and I should do whatever the fuck I want with it. And
Hell
like,
yeah.
really, why do I care what anyone thinks? And so I was like, you know what, fuck it. Like, I'm getting the surgery. I won't be able to walk or do shit for like a week. I'm gonna buy myself an Xbox and Xbox One, and just gonna game for a week. Like I miss gaming. I haven't gamed forever. And my coworker's like, you need Destiny. He was playing it hardcore at the time. I'm like, bro, I've played it. It's not my thing. And he's like, I have 2 copies of the game. Take my copy for a week and just play it while you're at home. Like when you get sick of your other games, and it's yours. Just borrow it. I'm like, okay. And I'm like thinking to myself, I'm not putting this shit in. Like I bought 2 games that I wanted. Like I'm like, there's no fucking way I'm playing Destiny. And for whatever reason, I asked my wife to put Destiny in first, like before any of my other games. So like I booted up the Xbox, had her put Destiny in. And sure as shit, dude, as soon as I could walk again, I went to the store and bought my own copy of Taken King. Because like his version didn't have Taken King on it. It was just like the old stuff and not the new expansion. So I was like, yeah, I like this game a lot. I'm gonna go buy Taken King. And my cousin at the time, who had shown it to me in the first place, was still playing. So like he really got me into it and got me into playing PvE and raids and stuff, and just kind of got hooked from there. So yeah.
Hell yeah.
Very good. Very good. Well, Raider, I think with all that, I think we could probably just move right on to the Wheel of Misfortune. What do you think?
I think so, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, let me get my dim up.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Sometime I want to do like that the Good Morning Vietnam thing. just for laughs and giggles, if you will. But anyways, Wheel of Misfortune time. Fluffy is no stranger around here. He knows how the Wheel of Misfortune goes. So allow me to bring up the RNG generator.
I don't see a little icon anymore though. Isn't it supposed to be in the bottom right?
Um,
Well, right where it says weapons only. Are you talking about after you hit your 3 dots on the whatever tune you're gonna use?
so if you're looking at
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry.
Scroll all the way to the very bottom and you'll see randomize. And then on the right side of that randomize is like a little selectable for weapons only.
Here we go.
No, I'm sorry. It used to be like a little box in the bottom right corner. Where do you see randomized now? I totally don't see it anymore.
Un momento, por favor. I shall bring this up. Okay, dim.
Because it
Loading.
used to be, I haven't used it in so long. It used to just be like a little square in the bottom right corner of Dim.
Yeah, so I have it up in my browser. Are you looking in your browser?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it different? Maybe it's different because I'm in Firefox. Let me open it in Chrome. Maybe it's there on the Chrome extension. No, it's the same.
Well, you should see where it has like Hunter, Titan, Warlock for your 3 different classes, right?
Yep.
So let's look at Hunter as an example. It'll have your light level number, and then you'll see 3 dots to the
I
right
see
of
it.
that.
Got it. I'm in the boat.
Now you're good, brother. Scroll all the way to the bottom, and you'll see randomize loadout. And then we want to click weapons only. Now I got to bring a Runga generator back up again.
Runga.
I love that guy. He's funny. All right, and between 1 and 3, roll. We roll means heavy.
Oh, it's not gonna be good, Bob.
I'm cool with
Uh-oh.
it.
Oh yeah, I literally don't care on this one.
What did you get?
I'm gonna re-roll it because it's really boring, but I got Warcliffe. Let's
Okay.
put some meat on the table here. Okay, here we go. It's an Adept Reed's Regret with Quick Draw and Firing Line.
Okay, that's hilarious because I also have an Adept Reed's Regret, but this one's a triple tap and either Rampage or Celerity? Question mark. That's the only one that I have. Bye.
I had Caretaker, the new sword. This has got energy transference surrounded. It's whatever. Yeah, I'm not gonna use it. And
There you have it.
yeah,
Oh.
I need this to be gone.
There you have it.
You know what's funny is in my primary I had Redrick's Claymore pop up.
Oh shit.
And I don't think there's any way that I could delete that. That's just not an option. Not that I ever use it, but that was just probably the hardest thing I've ever done to get.
Yeah, exactly. My primary would have been a bow. Same thing with energy, actually. So I had the Raconteur. This one is polymer string, fiberglass arrow shaft, archer's tempo, and successful warm up. These are all thumbs up and dim, apparently. And Tiku's divination.
Yeah.
Kill a monkey.
Monkey would be very sad if you deleted your Tikus.
Well, I don't think he'd care because he would just be like, just pull another one from collections.
Yeah,
exactly. I did have a Nature of the Beast snapshot rangefinder with the handling as work, but I don't use hand cannon, so I could have deleted it and it wouldn't cared. I just kept it because just in case. I try to keep one of something that looks kind of spicy.
The problem with hand cannons is there's so many good ones now.
Yeah.
That it's really hard to justify keeping okay rolls because, like, you know, you want a kinetic. Okay, you got Rose and Crafted Ostringer. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like it kind of just kills all the other kinetic ones that are 140s. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's up here. I think that concludes that one. Unless you guys want to roll again, I think we're good. I ain't trying to delete. I already lost some good stuff last episode, so I'm not gonna
Yeah,
roll again.
we're data vault cleaning every week.
All right. So before we get to the show topic, we're gonna hit the TWAB real quick. It's not too long, like I said, but some pretty cool things in it. So starting off with this week at Bungie, this was on the 13th, this past Thursday. They do the recap of last one. We're not going to read through that and what they're going to be talking about in this one. We'll start off with this, the third-party peripherals entering their villain arc. So they're actually sitting there and going to start warning, giving out bans possibly for violations of using some of these external accessibility aids such as Zim or Cronus. Yeah, so you're
They were
using it,
careful not to
you
name
better
them
stop it.
as not to like advertise them.
Yeah, exactly.
They did the
They
week
put that in
prior.
there, but I
they
mean,
said that
We all
they
know
said that
what
we
it
are
is.
going to name them, but also forget about last week's TWAB where we
Yeah,
named
the
them.
week before.
yeah. So there's that. Don't use it, because you could get banned. And then
what's your feelings on this?
honestly, like I don't use them, and it's hard to tell if somebody is using them unless they're just really kind of doing some crazy shit, you know.
That's
Which
the thing,
you
right?
can see sometimes, but it also sometimes you're like, you know, maybe he got me on that one. I don't know, you know, because like I'm not trying to brag, but sometimes I got some like super snappy like headshots from cross map that like, damn, how did I get that? I hope hope I don't get reported for some shit like that, and you know, I would just got a good shot. So I don't know, like it's a good thing because
Yeah.
it needs to be banned. Cheaters need to be banned regardless, you know? So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's I don't understand exactly the accessibility options that is used in it, and that's something I need to educate myself more about. For people that use it that actually have a physical disability that need to use it. Um, but Bungie has also been adding more features and getting more into the accessibility type stuff in
There's
game.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
There's very specific tools for accessibility where Cronus and Zim are very much marketed as a cheating tool in the sense of they manipulate how the game interaction is to get around things, whether it's get around recoil, get around aim assist, get around getting killed. There's definitely a lot of different things that you can do with it to make yourself a better player than you would be if you just had a controller in your hand or just had a mouse and keyboard in your hand, right? So, like, personally, I feel if you're doing something to cheat that's going to impact someone else's gaming experience, then yeah, goodbye. We don't need you.
Yeah.
You're making the environment worse for everyone else. If you're doing a cheat that does not negatively impact someone else, then whatever. You know, like you're not like I don't care, man. Do your thing. If you need that to feel good about yourself, do your thing.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting though because like I feel like a lot of people call out people for cheating when they have no real evidence of it, you know? Like people are really fast to say someone's cheating if they're better than them.
Oh yeah, for
And
sure.
I'm always like, are they cheating or are you just worse?
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. I've had buddies like that too. That like, as soon as he gets killed or something like that, it's just like, oh, DDoS, you know, the dude's DDoSing, like, or whatever, you know, like,
Yeah, yeah.
it just instantly to that thing, like, no, bro, you just got beat, like, chill, like, just
Yep.
get good, right?
And you know what happens.
But they
Yeah.
also like this is also for PvE as well. I mean, it's for the game
Yeah.
in general. And when I saw the PvE at first, I was just like who cares? But at the same time, this is a looter shooter, so a lot of the good stuff you can get to bring into PvP, you're gonna get from the PvE side too. You know what I mean? So if they can easily get this stuff by using their, you know, devices, if you will, and they can go and just knock out all this hard content and get their adept whatevers or, you know, time
Yeah.
lost whatevers, then I get it, you know, I totally get it. And I like that they say it's basically made hard for a reason, you know, like the end game
Yeah.
content PvE side. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. We'll see what comes of this and how many people that we may have known or played with are no longer playing this game. Next up, they talk about the new commendation that's going to be coming actually in the mid-season patch, which is tomorrow, I think. Actually, huh? Time of this recording should be tomorrow. And yeah, the best dressed commendation. Originally, it wasn't supposed to come until season 21, but with the feedback from the community, they really wanted it, and they planned to get it out in season 21. They decided to like push it up and put that priority mail on it and get it out to us tomorrow. It should be tomorrow. And this is for
Is it really tomorrow?
tomorrow, I believe, is a mid-season patch. Yeah,
Oh, we've been waiting.
yeah,
I
tomorrow.
guess we're playing some
Oh.
trials this weekend, boys.
Yes, sir. And that's actually the next thing that we're going to talk about. But yeah, so best dressed is coming. This will be for low trust activities, is what they call low trust activities. So stuff that's not raids, dungeons, or trials of Osiris. Best dressed. There you go. Go compliment the Guardians on how they look.
Can I ask a question to you guys real quick?
What's up?
When you're giving out accommodations, let's assume your friends are not playing with you. What do you look for? Because I honestly look for the best dressed. If my friends are not playing with me, I'm like, who looks the coolest? You're getting it.
Well,
Or do you guys just
Go ahead.
randomly pick people?
You go first, bro.
well, first, the first person to bag gets a strike. They get nothing. End of the story.
Yeah.
I'll even
Damn.
give all of my stuff to the enemy team if my teammates are bagging. Excuse me. But yeah. So first thing I look for, I usually give one to one of my team, and I usually give one to the enemy team as well. So what do I look
to
for?
the enemy team?
Yes, sir. You go to the full results screen, and on your full results screen, to the left of your name will be a star. And you click on that star, and it'll ask you which accommodation you want to give on anybody.
Holy shit!
Yeah. So
Mind blown.
so that's first. Now, what I'll look for my team is I'll watch to make sure that you don't bag. As long as you don't bag, you'll probably get something. If you didn't bag, you were helpful, and you were playing the game, and you were there, and you weren't like AFK for half the match or something, then I'll probably give you an accommodation. Also for the enemy team, what I'll look for, again, if you bag, you're automatically out. You get nothing. But if you're on the enemy team and I can genuinely see that you had good team coordination and I was genuinely outplayed, I will give you an accommodation for that because that's just a good match. That's a GG.
Cool.
Yeah.
You were very very fair. Very very good judge of your accommodations. Unless somebody's actually like popping off, to be honest, I'm just giving it to my team. And I don't care which one. Like if somebody's popping off, I'm gonna give them that mastery one, the gold one. But if not, if they were just kind of like whatever, like I will sit there and whoever's on the left side of the screen gets the left one. Whoever's on the right one gets the right one. Just quick and easy. Like I know that's probably not the way it's intended to be, but unless somebody popped off, it's whatever.
Yeah, they're kind of worthless. They don't have a lot of value yet, so
Not yet. Not yet.
I get it.
Yeah, it's only the first iteration.
I feel like
Yeah,
everybody's gonna looking for that best dressed commendation. Like how many does he have? Like just kind of curious.
It's funny too because when I dress up as my BlueBerry man, I get accommodations a lot.
Yeah. No, I 100% like if there's 6 people and I only have 2 to give out, it's who looks the coolest.
It's fair enough. Why not? Mine's left and right. Left gets left, right gets right. that's what's happening. All right, moving on to the next one. Here you guys go.
Yeah.
To the labs, the trials labs. Just as a reminder, 2 more trials labs, week 8 and 11 in season 20, and then they go into talk about the challenger pool, which we've spoke on before, as well as the practice pool, and we'll just hit those little bullets. So challenger pool, this is where most players who currently play trials week to week basis, y'all too, prefer. Oh, here we go. My bad. Week to week basis, and want to go flawless. Will play in this pool basically, and it says it's like the original iteration of Trials in D1, but with a focus on making games more difficult as a card progresses after you've been flawless. So
yeah, that's where my lease is. I've signed the lease to that pool. That's my new home.
Yeah, it'll be fully connection based, which is cool. I think that's fair enough. Why not?
Yep.
And there is no matchmaking based on tickets, wins on tickets, weekly wins, or skill. Players who have a card with no losses, including a card after reset, or those playing with someone who in the fire team has a card with no losses, will be placed in this pool. So, no losses, a weekly player, you're in the challenger pool. Somebody that's been flawless already. And then the practice is kind of just that new player kind of get people into it and see how it goes. And for the practice pool, the bullet points that they got on this one is that the pool matches based on connection and weekly performance, which is how well you've done in trials. And this resets every week. Only players with flawed cards or those that are on their first game of the week can play in this pool. Everyone in your fire team must have a flawed card or be in the first game of the week. And this pool has stomp protection and the farming protection, which is nice. Stomp protection is if you are consistently struggling, it will reduce your weekly performance rating and give you slightly easier matches until you recover. And then farming protection is for those that are trying to farm, the kiddie pool. I'm sorry, practice pool. Practice pool. Let me get that straight.
Hey,
um,
listen, everybody starts in the kiddie pool, man. Your first
exactly.
match of the week, that's where it's gonna be.
Like I'm almost done with my water wings. I'm getting used to it now. I'm starting to kick my feet more. I figured it
It's
out.
good, man. You got to hold on to that paddleboard, and just kick those feet, man.
I,
Point those toes. You
I've,
got this.
I've been trying. I've been trying. But what do you
Raider,
guys
there's no
think of
crayons
this?
inside of them. Stop chewing them.
What do you guys think of the pools? I know this is something that they've already touched on, and they do talk about like that there's going to be more to this, coming up and stuff like that. But off
I
that,
didn't realize that after you went flawless that they'll start making games more hard, more difficult. I must have missed that before, so that'll be interesting to see how that works. Um, we've never, I mean, I don't know if you guys remember the first week of Witch Queen with Trials, but that was connection based cards,
I was there.
and it was amazing. It
Mm-hmm.
was if this delivery is like what that weekend was. It was absolutely the most fun I've ever had in trials. Like everything was free.
Hmm.
It was just great.
It makes me think about like how you just said that if the games are going to get more difficult after you've been flawless for the week. I mean, is that essentially just another flawless pool? So like kind of three pools, like a challenger pool, flawless pool, and a practice pool.
Or it just means that like there's more skill-based matchmaking that comes into play after you've been flawless or something.
Maybe
I
the
don't
lever
know.
for connection and skill base gets moved a little bit to the left or something like
Yeah,
that.
it seems like that because which is too bad, man, because they really need to just stick with connection based. Like
Yeah.
I think that you need to just keep the population as high as possible.
Yeah.
And just let RNG be your guide through whether you go flawless or not.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. As a person at this point who I will say has spent a lot of time in trials anyways. Starting out, I remember the pain points and the frustration involved when you had those same people just farming you over and over and over again on your very first match. And a lot of the times, if you were lucky enough to get past that first match, everything was easier because you were facing normal people after that. But that was frustrating. It was extremely punishing, is the word I'm going to use. Which is perhaps why maybe I'm so tempered now. I don't know. But, anyways, that doesn't matter. What I enjoy about this is, yes, it is a little bit of a kiddie pool, sure. But it's widening that door for a wider audience, which is what I like. Because Trials is at its best and is at its most fun when it has a high population.
Yes.
Now, I know that we talk about that a lot, but when there isn't a high population, essentially what you're feeling are the top of the top, not just top players. You're playing the top of the top players all the time because that's all they ever play. Now, whenever you have a high population, you have a very realistic chance at facing what at the moment what I guess I'm going to describe as my experience was a point of relief. Oh my goodness, I'm facing a real person. Like, okay, now this is interesting. I might have a chance to almost like communicate, not communicate, I guess, more like have a conversation with this person in our engagements rather than just opening my mouth and having my entire face blown off immediately. But no, essentially that initial feeling of punishment was a gateway in it of itself from welcoming people into this feeling. Now, of course, we've all felt it at some point. Once we've smashed our face against the wall enough times, eventually the wall breaks. And once you do get the treasure chest, that is such the only other way I could really compare this, I'll give you an analogy, is Dark Souls, right? Whenever you start playing Dark Souls, if anybody out there, it's a pretty common game. A lot of folks have, not everybody, but what you go back to that experience of Dark Souls of going up against the bosses and you don't know anything and you're getting that muscle memory down and you're doing it again and again and again and eventually you get it, that feeling is the reward. Like enough. For me, it's like, wow, I did it. I accomplished it.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
Well,
just
and
me.
the cool thing too, which you kind of touched on, is by starting everyone off in the kiddie pool, that means everyone has a really good chance of getting one win. Like, if you're not a great player, like I'm very average. If you're worse than I am, it gives you a chance to have one win on your card going right out of the gate. And if you're not a good player and you play trials right now, like getting one win on a card and going to game two is sometimes just not gonna happen for you. I mean, you
Or
know,
the flip side
uh,
of the coin, it's a big deal for you, right? And like really,
yeah.
I know there's times where certainly playing in flawless pool, talking about games getting harder, whenever you start facing that crowd consistently and you get that win, you're like, wow, okay, I got the win. That's one W that I'll have to reset, but moving on.
Like, okay, so oh shoot, I played with Nessie. I was gonna try and pull up Marky's numbers just to put in perspective, but um when I was playing with people on Friday, I'm playing with people who have stupid number of flawlesses, right? Like Stormy used to just do trials carries for people and carry like 1, 2 people lighthouse at a time in D1 all weekend long. Like literally just thousands of games a weekend, just or hundreds probably, but
Yeah.
going for like 8, 9, 10 hours every single day carrying people lighthouse. And like Mark is, he's a high 1.0, low 2.0 player depending on the night. And if you have people like that and then an average person like me, and we played on Friday and we couldn't string shit together, like we get to 3 or 4 wins and then we're resetting the card over and over and over again after, a few hours. Like that goes away with these new pools. And that's what's so cool about it is when you have really good players struggling, like just based on the night and whatever connection they're getting, and you're changing that connection, and now it's just RNG connection based. You every game you have a chance to win or lose.
Yeah.
Like that's cool. I think it's gonna be a really, really healthy change if they do it right. And I think it's gonna change the accessibility for everyone.
Yeah.
What I'm
Couldn't agree
curious
more.
about is, say, so you're in the practice pool, right? And you can only be in there unless you have a flag card or it's the first game of your week. So that very first game should come somewhat nicely, Um, but then once you get that first win, or say you've been taking losses too, right? Because they got the stop protection. Say you've been taking losses, so it'll reduce your weekly performance and give you rating slightly easier matches. So say you go in and you take 3, 4 losses and you still keep going because you're probably an awesome Titan, and then you get a win on that card. Like imagine that skill diff going from something that's been reducing you within the practice pool to now you got a win on a card, and now you're in the challenger pool. Like, is that how it's gonna be? Like, is it gonna be a big drastic, just like we talk about the water wings now? It's like you pop the water wings in the deep end with the, I don't know, a waterfall on top of them or some shit like that. Like that.
It'll be like it'll be like PvP before skill-based matchmaking was a thing, right? So like you're gonna get games where you will stomp, and you will get games where you will be stomped. Like that's on the unfortunate reality of connection-based games, but you have a better chance at going flawless because instead of facing people who are on game 5, game 6, game 7, like it's just going to be random. Your game 3 might be someone who's on game 7. Your game 7 might be someone who's on game 2. Like you might face someone who's on game 2 all the way up to the lighthouse.
Yeah, but if you're
Just
trying to go flawless, you're going to automatically get thrown in that challenger pool, regardless of skill set.
right, but I'm saying in the challenger pool,
Mhm.
your games 2 through 7 could be against people who are only on game 2.
Yeah.
Like you could play potatoes all the way to the lighthouse, or you might get unlucky and play 3.0 players and reset your card and start over, right? But like it's you have a better chance of going flawless because it's completely random. So instead of
Oh yeah, no,
always
I
having
agree with
harder
that.
people. Yeah, and I think that people will be okay. Like I think even if you do sit in the practice pool and get stomped 4 or 5 times before you get your first win, your next game isn't going to be a practice pool game. Sure, that the skill might be elevated a little,
Hmm.
but I mean, it's still like a random chance. You still might get someone who's also a potato just like
Yeah.
you know, and maybe you'll be fine. So, I don't know. I
Uh,
have high hopes.
yeah. We'll see how it goes. I think the practice pool. Oh, I want to say it's obviously like there's something you can do by practicing. You know, you can stay with your flawed card and just continue to try to get better and better. But I feel like it's more aimed at those that are more maybe primarily PvE players that want just the loot. You know what I mean, or that
Yeah,
pinnacle,
it's
because they could just play with a flawed card at the practice pool the entire time, get all their loot, get all their ranks up, and all that kind of good stuff. So I guess that's an okay thing too. Um,
yeah, and I mean, if you get 7 wins on a card and it's flawed, like, just sit on that card and farm your rep because you get so much rep when you're at 7 wins versus 1.
And then the last little piece of this, they said, as a reminder, the updates to the passages of Wealth and Mercy and the changes to the Gilded Flawless Triumph requirements will not be live on these weekends. Those will come in Season 21 alongside the new emblem and an introductory quest. Yep. And then
So,
more to follow later on, I guess.
the way that this was written, it made me do a double take, like, I hope that the pools are permanent and not just those 2 weekends.
I think they are.
Well, I
Because the way that they wrote the trials
It's
last.
lab, so I think they're gonna take that feedback and see what goes on with it. Because we only have
Yeah,
two yeah, we only have two left, right? Two trials for the season.
but that's my fear is the initial article that came out said we're making these mid-season changes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then the way that this TWAB was written, it seemed like these are only trials labs changes. And that's my fear because I want them to be
Permanent.
an always thing.
Yeah. At least they're gonna try to do their due diligence and get the feedback and see the stats and shit like that. Like,
Yeah.
pretty sure
Sure.
we'll
Yeah.
like what they did with comp rework, and we had all those graphs and saw the changes to all that good stuff. So that's what I'm hoping. We'll find out. But you guys got anything else on the trials lab before we move on? We have a few small things to hit.
Nope.
No, not in particular.
Right. Next up, they got the 12th annual Kilts for Kids back in action, and this is to help raise funds. They're trying to raise $77,777. That's their goal, and this is all funds going for the Seattle Ronald McDonald House. And they got a link right there to where you can donate. It's by votes, so I clicked on it. I kind of checked it out, and I guess you vote for which one you like the best. And each vote is $10. So they say that $30 will pay for a family stay at the Ronald McDonald house in Seattle for one night, and this is also going to help out, for the kids at the hospital as well, the Children's Hospital of Seattle. So with that, they do have an emblem called Knees Out emblem. It's kind of that plaid green, kilt, I guess, ish look to
Mhm.
it. Um, And you can get that if you donate $50 to that. You'll get that. You'll get the emblem, and then if you donate 100, you'll get the emblem as well as a postcard digitally signed by their team there, and it'll be mailed to you. And then for $250, you'll get both of those prizes plus a digital copy of the new and unique piece of artwork made by Mark Fleeg himself. And then at $500, the big one there, you get all those prizes plus a physical print of Mark's exclusive art shipped straight to you. They do say that the rewards are not automatically redeemed because they have to get all the donor data from the Ronald McDonald House before they can distribute those. Yeah, that's a nice thing that they're doing.
Yeah, it's such a good cause, man.
I like the uniqueness of it too. Kilts for kids.
Yeah. That whole the Ronald McDonald house really helps out people that need help when they got sick kids. It's a good cause to support.
Yep, most definitely. And then player support report, they talk about the update 7.0.5 next Tuesday, which is tomorrow at the time of this recording. And this should be the midseason patch, I believe. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what this is. So tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, maintenance will start 8:45. The servers will be brought offline. 10 o'clock, expected to be back online. And then 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, as all these times were. Maintenance should be completed. They also talk about scheduled Guardian rank objectives. They made some scoring updates to the following Guardian rank objectives. Legend score went from 130,000 to 115,000. Nightfall score went from 200,000 to 180,000, and then the scoring for Grandmaster went from 230 to 210k. Additionally, they've increased the Lake of Shadows score multiplier by 1 times. Some known issues there. Weekly red borders. So if you're having some problems with that, it's not progressing. They're tracking it. Lake of Shadows, Nightfall after defeating a champion, or champions are just randomly respawning, I guess. Which that's pretty shitty and doesn't give you your full, like platinum rewards or whatever, your score. And then Soraya Hawthorne may continue referencing visiting Amanda in her voice lines, which is sad. Nobody has told Soraya that man is gone, folks. Somebody let Hawthorne know. Then they got movie of the week and art of the week, and I should go. Love Hippie. That's a twab.
Awesome.
That's the twab.
Yep. All right. I'll be right back before we jump into the show topic.
Yep.
Okay.
And actually, you know what? Ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do is we're going to jump right into the show topic right after this. Perfect.
Show. Topic.
Woo! Oh, man. I'm in a good mood today, and it's good because I've been not in a good mood these past few weeks. So this is nice for me to be in a good mood today. I'm all like giddy and a little extra happy.
You seem more like your normal self. Like I noticed when we hung out a couple times, I'm like, motherfucker's way quieter than normal. Usually he's a pretty happy camper. So like some shit's going down for sure. So good, man. I'm good. I'm happy that is turning into a positive thing slowly but surely.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you. And no, I appreciate you for noticing too. There was just not much I could do at the time, and it was in process, right? So I was just in process of preparing.
Yeah, no, that shit's hard, man.
I don't advertise myself to be this big tough guy. That is for sure. I'm pretty tender when it comes to my heart. And what I mean by that is like my immediate IRL circle. Like I'm very. If I include you, it's 110%. If I don't bother with you, I don't care.
Yeah, right. I feel you. Well, dude, and like I listen to the episode. Like I get the whole pets are your baby thing. Like that's 100% my dogs. And that was my previous dogs that I had to deal with. Like,
Yeah, big
so
time.
I feel you.
Big time. No, she was a wonderful blessing. Get this. Her birthday was Christmas Day. right?
Yep.
She died on Easter.
Wow, dude, that's funny. Like,
Yeah,
not
dude.
funny, but, like,
Like,
that
no, like,
coincidence.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, she was
That's
just a
crazy.
genuine blessing, dude. Like, I'm not like this big religious guy or anything, but like, I'm a little bit spiritual for myself and the experiences that I've been through. So I'll say, that it genuinely is a blessing. She was
I think
amazing.
I think it's good. Like, it's good to have some sort of beliefs in whatever higher power you believe in, without fully giving in to the one created by man asking for money and power. Like,
Exactly.
I
I mean,
respect that.
the best way I could explain this really is like, although I don't fall under the belief of religion, because religion is, this is my personal opinion. Religion is the idea that it's a rule book that you have to follow. And if you don't follow the rule book, then you're not
A rule
cool,
book
kind of
created
thing.
by really rich white guys.
But through the experiences that I've been through, I sure as hell believe in demons. So I'd be dumb as hell if I didn't believe in the angels that are watching me, my family and stuff whenever I'm sleeping and following me and stuff like that. So that's just my own spiritual type of thing.
Yeah. No, I feel you, man. Like, I think, as with anything, right? You can always learn lessons and pull value out of anything. So, like, to say, like, I grew up going to church, like, so to say like that doesn't, there's no benefits to it, like, I'd be lying to myself. But bro, man, I have some major problems with the church as an institution. And like, my in-laws are very, very religious, and my
Yeah.
sister-in-law has worked as a teacher and a principal in private Catholic schools in St. Louis. And she, like, this past weekend, it really fucking hit me because I don't like I don't like what the church is. Like, I see it as old white dudes like controlling people,
Yeah.
and the whole like be kind to your neighbors, but unless they're gay or they don't look like you or they're poor, like, come on, dude. And like, like, your entire teaching is about a dude that was not a white guy, that was about helping the poor people and the people in need and being humble and a servant. But like, that's not what you practice or what you preach, and like, so I see all these problems, and I have respect for whoever and whatever they want to believe in. Like, you do you, man. My beliefs are not your beliefs. Um, but even this weekend, like, my sister-in-law, who's been in the industry for a long time, she's like, I am so fed up with this church and their like constant need to grab power and money and all the rules that they keep changing and all this shit that she sees behind the scenes on like what the school has to push to the kids. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, dude, I feel you. And then we were sitting in church on Easter Sunday, and I'm just sitting there like, I know a lot of these people are probably good people, but like, I really have a problem with this. Like, it really hit me that time. I'm like, I don't, I don't fully support this, especially like, if like, that shit that went down in Baltimore where there was like, what, like 600 some kids like on record getting like abused, sexually touched, whatever, by priests, and the church's like approach is to save face instead of go after the monsters. And I'm like, if you're saving face when it comes to children,
Yep.
like,
We're going
I'm
through it
sorry, but
right now in Canada. I was actually
yeah,
talking to Raider about that.
you're the monster if your thing is to save face instead of protect the kids. Like, I don't
Yep.
got respect for that.
I came into some deep conversation.
Well,
Like, god damn.
no, he was just noticing that, like, long story short, to condense it, my energy level last time was a little down here, but
Yeah,
it's
last
starting
couple
to come
times we
back
hung
up.
out.
It was starting to come back up, and I was just explaining to him, yeah, last time I was in the middle of preparing for some hurt. And now that I've gone through the hurt. Like today, actually, is what I was originally saying. Today's the first day where like I felt like it's okay to put on a smile today. You don't have to, you don't have to cry. You don't feel that heaviness on the chest today. Just focus on work, and I had a great day, dude. I was so productive at
That's
work. I was
awesome,
able
man.
to
Hell
just
yeah.
help everybody around me, and like I was a leader at work today, and it felt good to be me again. So yeah,
Fuck
that's
yeah,
all we were
dude.
talking about.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
So I'm gonna grab another beer right quick, and then whenever I get back, we could probably get this show on the road.
I'm
Yes,
good to go.
sir.
I don't know why I had to do the clicky mouth thing, but anyways,
Yep.
I'll be back.
Yeah. That was pretty funny to walk in like halfway through, huh?
Yeah, just like, yo, what's going on over here?
Yeah. No, man. And again, like to each their own, man.
Yeah, of course.
We're all just kids trying to fake it till we make it, right? So
Mhm.
like, what do I know? I say be good to people. I see Bungie.
Yeah, no, I'm sitting there trying to look at it. Hold on. We found the leaker. No.
Oh my god.
You've been seeing that on
Oh
Twitter with
yeah.
I forget the guy's name, but possibly being alleged as a tweet or like a leaker or something like that. It's crazy, man.
He didn't fight it very much, man. He didn't fight if he was claiming it wasn't him. But yeah, well, no, the fucked up thing was he deleted all of his videos.
Yeah.
And then the next day he's like, "Oh, but it wasn't me." Like
Well,
I did
well,
all this
I
really
s-
incriminating
I
stuff, but it
saw
wasn't me.
I saw like a statement, and I'm not gonna I forget who it was, but that sat there and talked to the individual that's being accused, and
Yeah.
was sitting there and talked to him like, no, this is not the case. Like, there's an auto deletion for certain videos, for
Oh, okay, okay,
certain
okay.
things, so people are like looking at it way too too much, and like also like, oh, he just quit playing Destiny. Like, no, he got banned. He can't play it because he's banned at the time right now. It's like a soft ban. So uh,
Okay, okay.
I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. We'll see. But I'm really not into all that
Yeah.
drama either. At the same time,
No, I don't. I mean, fuck, everything I know is hearsay, right? So,
exactly, exactly. All right, let's jump into the show topic. So I kind of, as you guys see, I kind of like put it into something that I don't know made sense to me when making it, especially with the army. This is kind of like something that when we're training soldiers and stuff like that, we use this kind of almost template, right? Almost like a plan, prepare, execute type thing. But this one's broken down with a preparation type thing. So what are you doing prior to jumping into the match? Because we're talking about the basics of Crucible here, right? So it all is going to start. Obviously, the first thing is before the match starts. What is your preparation? What's your setup? What are you doing? You know what I mean? And then we'll talk
mhm.
about like shooting. So shoot, it's going to be shoot, move, communicate, survive, and adapt. And that is literally from Army field manuals, and it just makes sense for it to be in this order because it's not real life fighting, but a lot of this stuff still has the same kind of concept, as far as how you
Principles,
should be
yeah.
Absolutely.
thinking, how you should be thinking.
Yeah, I think we're blessed to have your actual training on the subject to apply to this, man. Like that's a really cool fucking element to add to this whole conversation. This is really cool. I'm
It's
excited to see
really
where
just
this
for the
goes.
organization of it, but yeah. So that's what we're gonna look at here. You guys want to start? We can start right there with prepare. Like, I mean, can you guys just
Yeah.
like starting with you, Fluffy? Like, what do you do to prepare? Like, prior to like getting ready and jumping into some trials or some comp or something like that. What do you do?
Okay. So I'm going to approach this entire conversation ignoring the fact that I'm a dad because my family always comes first. So I don't always get to do what I would want,
True.
right? I typically play video games when they're at school or when they're sleeping. Um, so they always come first. So when I speak about this stuff, it's totally assuming that I've been granted the freedom to have the time to make these things happen, right? So my ideal being prepared of going into Crucible, where I'm only playing threes. Like sixes are if someone else invites me to play sixes, but honestly, like I want to be playing comp or trials. Like so, my mindset's always there because that's where I have the most control. Um, Ideally, I am working out and finishing about an hour prior to the game. Um, I definitely have way better mental focus and dexterity and hand-eye coordination if I've had a really solid workout. And that's just the benefits of the workout, just and that runner's high or whatever you want to call it. Like I am on point, like noticeably better player.
We got the juice.
Um, Yep, exactly. Eat food because like if you go in and you don't have fuel, like you're just not going to work as well. You're not going to perform as well. Even if you're sitting in a chair, like you're going to run out of energy after a frame, right? So I want to make sure that I've either eaten something recently or I will have something in my body. So post workout hunger and all that doesn't hit me while playing. Um, I really like to brew coffee and walk into my office with a cup of coffee or a cup of coffee and a thermos to fill up my next cup. Um, I'm a strong believer in caffeine, and I think that like some good solid black coffee will do me well focus wise. And then that's it, man. Like I throw on my headset, I open up all the programs that I run. Like I'll always open up Spotify, but whether I actually play music or not, just it's like a feel thing. I open up Dim, um, I open up Discord, so we can get the chatting going on, and I open up the game. I'm an MNK player. My mouse is hardwired in. My keyboard's hardwired in. My headset is wireless, so I guess I make sure that's charged now.
Hmm.
But other than that, like I just go in and go.
Solid. I mean, that was nice. What about you? Anything that you do different yourself, Sweaty?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, for myself, I always got to have some sort of a beverage at the desk. There's got to be something, whether even if it's just water, ice water,
Yep.
that's fine by me. It has to do with that hand to mouth motion. That's just me. But, anyways, um, now before I even step foot into a match, the very first thing I'm looking at is my mods. Then I want to address this because um, I think that maybe perhaps it isn't considered common knowledge as to what kinds of mods I'm going to be looking at before going into a match. There might be some folks out there who maybe just say, well, I just kind of run into Crucible with whatever PvE mods I have on at the time, like whatever. And that's cool. I mean, if you're just going in to have fun, then all the power to you. But if you're going in there with the mindset that, I want mods that suit Crucible, and I want to prepare for this experience, then that's what I would like to speak to. So let's start with the armor, or sorry, let's start with there's 5 pieces of armor, right? We have the head slot, we have the arms, we have the torso, we have the legs, and then
Mark. A mark.
Thank you.
That's a mark.
The class.
All
item.
other answers are invalid.
The class item, correct. So let's start with just our head mods, at the very top, the headpiece. Now, of course, these stat mods are going to be influential to your build. What
Yeah, I was
mods are
gonna
you
say,
wanting to
like,
use?
if I'm building some, if we're like talking like before you even start a match, like you need to know what your stat build is before you worry about mods, right? So you need to pick whatever exotic you have, and then like I'm sure I focus differently than you guys.
Essentially, you're arming yourself with a kit before walking in.
Yeah, yeah. So like hunter, like I'll say what I do, and then you guys like
Sure, yeah.
whatever you do. But like my warlock and titan, I have enough armor that I'm running 100 resilience, 100 recovery on both of those. So I'm 10/10 on both warlock and titan, and then whatever mobility I have left. And I totally ignore the other columns. Like I don't give a shit about intellect. I don't care about nades or melee. Like they will come up when they come up. It's flinch resistance, damage resistance, recovery. Like that is really what your fight is. Like, do you have enough armor that you can get to cover if you're losing? Do you have enough recovery that you can peek out before they're recovering? Unfortunately, hunters kind of got the bag on this because like my hunter is the only one that I can't do double hundreds on. So that's typically like going to be 100 mobility. So you get your dodge and then trying to go like 7 on my resilience for immortal and then hope that I can be a 5 or above on recovery. But it's rough out there for us Cape Crusaders.
Definitely not. Y'all can go invisible and do all kinds of crazy shits. I don't want to.
Hey, I play everything.
True.
So for our PvE main folks out there, essentially what we're saying is that especially if you're a raid main, what you're probably used to is more functionality builds and mechanical type builds. Whenever you're approaching PvP, you have a less focus on that type of a thing, and you want to focus more on your stats. Stats are more important in Crucible, in my personal opinion, which is why it's certainly on a hunter. I mean, that's why powerful friends and things like that were so important before so they were removed. So right quick, hunter, let's see, their dodge is associated to the mobility.
Yep.
Warlock is their rift is associated to the recovery. And for the Titan, your barricade is associated to your resilience, because
yeah.
that may not be common knowledge. So what you're doing is in terms of build, you're stat focusing and keeping in mind, are you using an exotic that benefits grenades? Maybe you want more discipline. Or are you using an armor exotic that benefits more recovery? Things to that nature. So with that principle, that's what I'm going to call that. I'm going to call that a principle, a build principle. With that in mind, let's move forward. So in every armor piece, starting with the headpiece, like I said, the very first mod choice that you're going to be chosen with is going to be your stat. So again, that's going to be relating to your build. Let's look at the remaining slots. What we want here probably is some sort of anti-flinch. It kind of depends on the weapons that you're running. But you're not going to, for example, run an ammo finder. You're not going to, for example, run extra reserves for heavy because you're only going to get X amount of ammunition regardless. So what you really want to build into is for your head slot. I like using the aim assist mods.
It makes a difference too. Like it literally, it can make or break a weapon.
Yeah.
And your
100%.
ability for that follow-up shot to hit or not, right?
Yep. I
Yep.
mean, I made a fusion, and the fusion rifle I use requires 2 targeting mods.
Yeah.
If you do not have 2 targeting mods on, you miss shots. It's very noticeable.
Yep.
Certainly sniping,
Agreed.
Raider. I'm sure you can
Yeah.
speak to that.
No, absolutely. Like even on my build, like
Yeah.
it's always going to be your targeting mods that go in that headpiece after your, whatever you need to sit there and slot in for your stats, like you guys were talking about. But targeting is definitely helpful, like really, really helpful. I don't know if there's a difference between that targeting mod on controller versus mouse and keyboard. I'm not too sure how much it
I
does
think
change that
there's
a bit. You know what I mean?
yeah, there's definitely a stickiness between um like joysticks and the mouse for
Yeah.
sure. But
So
it still helps.
yeah,
It
regardless,
definitely
it's
does,
gonna
yeah.
help. And like it honestly depends on what your weapons are you using. So for me, I run a sub and a sniper. I like having that more sticky sub, even more stickier than it already is. So I'll run one of each, So it's up
Yep.
to you. And just like you're saying, for your fusion, you might need a weapon to make it really have that good feel to it and ensure those kills at easy use. You might have to throw on a couple, and that all comes down to as well is how much of your armor slots do you have for adding onto these after your stats. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
and if it's masterwork even, because that's another thing. You might not have masterwork armor yet, and you're trying to get more into the Crucible and get your Crucible build. You want to try to get that stuff masterwork so you can have these extra things. You know what I mean? So nah, I totally agree with that 100%. Then some other stuff for getting prepared is warming up. Do you guys do any kind of warm ups before jumping straight into trial, straight into comp? Do you guys do a warm up game at all? Do you guys do anything at all warm up wise? Or do you just
I
jump right
used
in?
I used to. I have I'm lucky enough that I have some really really high skilled friends in PvP. One of them that has carried me to the lighthouse plenty of times is a big believer in like aim games, and I know for a fact he plays like aim assist games before he loads up Destiny. And this dude's like a pretty solid like 2.0 3.0 player, so like the numbers definitely speak for that approach. I I'm just at a point in life where I just jump in and play.
Yeah. I'm with you.
I like, yeah, I'm just there, man. Like I've just hit that point where I'm like, you know what? Like, whatever. Like I'm either gonna play well or I'm gonna play shitty and play well in 3 games. But let's just go at it.
Yeah, I do the same now. I used to try to hit quick play for a match or two, but it's different. It's sixes versus threes, so
Yeah.
tactics are
Yeah.
completely different. Weapons you use could be completely different. Like
Yep.
the perks and shit like that. Like you're not gonna really want like a rampage perk on a weapon in threes because you're not gonna really proc it that much. Whereas sixes you
Yep.
will, and stuff like that. Like in my opinion. So, um, yeah. I mean, I don't warm up either. What about you? Do you warm up at all, Sweaty?
No, I just dive right in. Like I say, outside of the mod preparation, that's pretty much it. I just do the mod prep. Um,
Hell yeah.
yeah, that's
I
pretty much
think
it.
I think a case could be made for Rumble being a good warm up if you don't want it to count against you in comp or trials.
Yeah,
Rumble does play differently, and some weapons shine more than others in Rumble, but it at least puts you in positions where you constantly have people coming at you. Um, so warm up that aspect of it. But yeah, threes is fun because you can control the map and you can control where people are and you can be aware of where people are, and you lose that in sixes. So going into sixes and trying to improve your skills, or going into sixes to warm up, like it's just a different game, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like I haven't played a lot of sixes in the last year, and so whenever I do, I actually get like,
other than Iron Banner, maybe.
yeah, but I get dumped on sometimes because I'm not used to like people spawning behind me. You know what I mean? And like things like that where you're in control and pushing the other team back,
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden you're getting shot from behind because you're not used to like like just random spawn points everywhere.
True. Agreed. Agreed. Is there anything else you guys want to hit up on the warm up or preparing?
yeah. I'm just gonna close up on the mods discussion right quick. So, in other than the targeting mods in the armor slot, I think I would probably the only other thing I would recommend is maybe like the siphon mods, which will allow you to get orbs of power in the middle of a match, which can be very helpful, certainly in trials. For your arms, I would say probably reload or dexterity mods, one of
Mm.
those two.
Yep.
Uh, in your torso, I'm gonna say anti-flinch, 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 anti-flinch,
Yep.
anti-flinch. All the anti-flinch. Um, nothing else is relevant. Just
Uh
anti-flinch.
yeah, yeah, for sure on chest, yeah.
I could see
You
the.
guys,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna
Mhm.
say, do you guys use holster? Because I definitely use
Yeah,
holster.
that's what I was gonna bring
That's
up for sure.
legs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So for like legs, I definitely have like right now I got triple kinetic holster on my peacekeepers, right? And my kinetic is my sniper rifle, so it's a constant. And I'll swap to that with my shoddy sometimes or whatever. So it's always that like for when I got the quick readiness from the dexterity, double on that because I don't need it for I'm running peacekeepers, so you don't need it for your sub. So it makes it super quick to like pull out. It makes it make sure it's reloaded. I mean with triple kinetic holster, like it or triple holster in general, like it almost makes it like an auto loading like perk for it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I definitely like that. Definitely like that. And then what about the class item? We didn't talk the class item mods because there's a
Reaper.
few. Reaper, yeah, that's the one I
Yeah.
have on.
I mean, really,
Well,
like
there's a
you just
couple
gotta
other
run
ones.
Reaper.
Let's
I
see.
got
What is it that I
outreach
like to
and
use?
bomber. So I do outreach,
Yeah,
bomber, and
Outreach and
reaper.
bomber's
bomber.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you can get
and
those things
Reaper.
back,
Yeah,
especially because I'm using thruster, so I'm constantly using my class ability. So you're constantly getting fed to your melee and your grenades.
for
Yeah,
And
bomber.
I
Yeah,
think
sure.
like you could definitely make a case, we're I think all three of us kind of have the same approach. Like weapon mods are definitely the way to go versus like a build mod or trying to build into getting orbs and making orbs work for you. You can absolutely make orbs work for you in PvP and it can
yeah,
be beneficial, but unless you're like a really high tiered player, making your guns perform better are probably in your best interest. Like
Mhm.
if you're listening to us for advice on this, then focus on making the weak points of your guns better first.
Yeah,
yeah,
Worry about builds and the gameplay loops later on in your career.
yeah. Exactly. So yeah, other than that, I would say that's probably the entirety of how I prepare before I even step foot into a match.
Yeah, I'm right there with you
Yep.
guys. I think we're all pretty much on the same thing. Make sure your controller's charged. Like, make sure it's charged because there's too many times that I sat there and I was like, all right, cool, we're about to start, and then it's dead. I'm like, fuck. All right, hold on.
Mid
But
match,
I've
mid
gotten
pals
quick
match.
with the hot swap on the battery, man. Like, because I got my battery pack recharging on this side, so I,
Pull it
bro,
out, swap it in, put it in, quick, go, go, power, power,
it's
power, power,
quick.
power, power.
I think it might be just as fast as it was for like my M4 in the army and shit like that. Like, I got that shit down. Like, it is super
That's
down.
awesome. Yeah.
Uh,
So like just be in a good headspace, right? Be in a
mhm.
good headspace and have your beverages.
Big time.
All right, moving on to the next one. We're gonna talk shoot because probably I'm not gonna say one of the most important. I feel like the next few, like pretty much all of these, are probably all equally as important. But this one is probably the one that I see a lot of people like kind of screw up on here and there. And it's that first one, and that was all you that came up with that point right there, Sweaty. So you want to talk on that one first? Because I think that one's huge.
Oh, absolutely. So the very first thing that I think is the absolute most basic, I'm not even going to call it a skill. I'm just going to call it an awareness that maybe not a lot of people think about. Certainly if you're not a consistent Crucible player, but we're going to call this passive reticle placement. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is your reticle way up high in the air when you're turning a corner, or are you looking at your toes when you're turning a corner? Either of which are bad idea, because when you're turning a corner, that's a new lane that you're presenting yourself in, which is called a challenge. So when you're challenging and somebody else sees you and you're not even looking at them, that's free game for them. And they shouldn't feel guilty every single time that it happens, because that's it's a part of the game, you know? I know that if I see somebody coming around a corner and they're just not paying attention to me, I'm going to take the kill big time. So passive reticle placement means your horizontal position of your reticle at all times in preparation for when that random head comes around the corner and suddenly places itself in your reticle. Then you can just shoot.
Yep. Just pull the
I,
trigger and win.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
going
know
to say
who,
passive reticle placement awareness.
I don't remember who in D1 pushed this idea, but I was watching a YouTube video. I was trying to get better at sniping, and they absolutely pushed this exact same knowledge. And I am hyper aware of it when I snipe because I'm really not great at sniping. Um, but to add on, like to what you're saying, like I always try and keep my reticle not only centered, but also where I think the next person might pop out. So if
Follow up
I'm
side.
about to run upstairs, my reticle, the center of my screen is actually looking above the top of those stairs at where their head would be. Like, so when I scope in, it's the least amount of travel time between where they actually are and where my reticle is, right? You don't want to be, because it's really easy to look down when you run or to have your reticle drop low when you run. So like not only be aware of where it is, but think about if you were coming at you from a different direction, where's that 50-50 point that you're going to walk out of? Where would you engage yourself? I always try and think about that a lot when I'm sniping. I should be better about it in general, but yeah, I think that's huge, man.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And like looking at it from both sides, making sure you know, especially when it comes to sniping. When I'm sniping, um, I know where they're gonna be at, or you can anticipate where they're gonna be at, and you
Yeah.
gotta make sure that that reticle's right there around their head, because that's the only thing you want, man. Like you get that first shot off on that first long snipe lane, like that almost every map has, and that almost changes the game in threes, of course, like, especially in threes. That'll change the game, and now you got a lot more
Strike.
momentum. Yeah, hell yeah, yeah.
Well, and you'll find that most average players are going to peak the exact same lanes, especially in something like trials. Like you can count on them going to the same place over and over again. I mean, hell, like half the reason the trip mine build is so fun is because you just know what cover they're going to hide behind, and you just throw the nades where you know they're going to pop out.
Mhm.
You know, you don't even have to peek the lane. You just have to see the corner where they're going to hide and peek, because you know every, like, except for top tier players, everyone else is push into that exact lane to get the first snipe shot off on someone. So,
I
you
can
know,
actually give a specific story to that exact experience. So the map, Eternity, right? You're not
mhm,
spawning at stairs. You're spawning outside and you're running to middle inside of the dark tunnel area.
yeah,
So whenever you're running towards that middle area where heavy would be to your right, there's an archway in front
and
of you,
balls
an
it to your
opening.
left.
To your right, where the stairway is, where they're going to run up, I always threw the trip mine
Yeah,
before anybody ever was there. It's a trap, folks. It's a trap. So you throw the trap or trip mine at the top of the stairs between the walls because then they're going to be encased in the explosion, not outside of it. And
yep,
I can't tell you how many times I've gotten an entire team wipe from one trip mine because they're
yep.
just grouped together.
You have to run. Like you have to beeline it. But as long as you beeline it there and jump up and throw that trip mine, you are gonna beat them to the top of that stairway. That view, you'll have a half second where you can throw that trip mine and drop back into coverage before they'll be able to run up to the top of the stairs.
Hmm.
Absolutely. I purposely do not go to those stairs ever off the bat because I've been killed so many times doing that that I'm just like, it's not worth it because it is just like a death trap.
Yeah. I think the big thing too is to sit there and change up. Like if you're like me, like I like to snipe off bet. Uh, you change up your predictability. Like how you're talking about
You
everybody's
have
always going to
to.
the same place, same lane. That's cool. You can try to attack the same lane if you've had success in the first round, but change up exactly where you're going to be at or crouch. Like as simple as crouching around a corner instead of standing, that throws them off in their predictability and you just adjust your aim where you're, going to be aiming at and you'd be surprised how many people you'll catch off guard or you just change up the angle slightly. You can
Yep.
you can peek it, but let's peek it from this side of the tunnel. Like was it Endless Vale right now? Like that main snipe lane right there, right? Like you can peek it from left or right or whatever, or you can even go outside and peek inside and there's a nice sight line. So yeah.
Yep.
uh, Yep,
Yeah,
for
and you're
sure.
definitely like you touched on it, but you're
Yeah.
way better off crouching, jumping, or sliding
Mhm.
a 50-50 lane than you are just walking out into it.
Yeah.
And essentially what you're doing, so you two are agreeing on the same topic, is that travel time, once you aim down your ADS and you're trying to line it up, that travel time, you're trying to make that travel time more difficult because by them having to spend more time trying to line up the shot, that they're open to get shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And I think we'll probably touch on more of that once we come to the movement. But
Yeah.
let's continue here on the shoot. The next thing I got here is recoil control. I'm not sure how much that I've played on MNK on PC on console, so I'm not sure how much recoil is in the game for you guys.
It's
If
relevant.
yeah,
I
Oh,
mean,
it's
like
relevant.
we both are big hand cannon users. Like I prefer a hand cannon. Like it
mhm,
just feels better, right? And
Mhm.
so there is the recoil on that, allowing it to settle and knowing what hand cannon you have, what its is stability at. So when it actually settles, is the reticle settled? Um, or I know you snipe spooks. I like fusions. Like there's a recoil with that and a whole trick with pulling down and making the recoil work for you. So
mhm.
it's for sure there.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure because you hear that shit back and forth like about recoil and PC versus this and all that kind of stuff. For me, like on controller, especially using my sub or sniper. Of course, sniper's a little bit easier, but sub, especially the 900 RPM ones that I like to use, I mean, they pull up quite a bit. So
Yeah.
that's another thing that I think is another skill to like sit there and practice and get to know the direction it pulls as well, the recoil direction, right? Which you can see on your weapon stats now. But getting used to that, getting that feel for it, like I still haven't got the feel for the immortal, honestly, and I know that's one of the that's the a crutch weapon right now, big time. And I'll sit there and I'll pull it. All right, I'm gonna pull it out now. I'm gonna practice it a bit, and it just doesn't feel good to me because I'm not used to the way it feels as opposed to me running my out of bounds 900 RPM that I've ran for fucking forever now, and it's just getting used to that. So recoil control, I think, is super important to practice and to know the gun because all guns are different. Even if they're they
Yep.
could be the same weapon type. Like I just had that example of subs, but the different RPMs is gonna throw everything off and make your playstyle feel definitely different.
E- Even the same RPMs, man. Like
Yeah, true.
switching 140s, like 140 hand cannons, like they just they feel different, you know?
Yeah, big time. Like Rose definitely feels different from an Austringer. So
Yeah, well, dude, even going so I like Exalted Truth, but even going from Exalted Truth to my crafted
Allegarl,
Ostringer to
or
my Ace of Spades, like they all hit differently.
yeah, for sure. Not to mention, like, the more aggressive the recoil stat is, the more difficult it is to use the weapon, and that is not exempt on PC. I mean, of course, we're gonna address the main difference here with controller. You know, of course, on your sticks, I think you just basically have to pull back on your right stick. Um, and then on PC, what we do is like I for myself, anyways. I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but I like to use my wrist. So I'll plant my wrist and then I'll pull my mouse back ever so slightly, just to compensate. Now, of course, on mouse and keyboard, we don't have that reticle stickiness, which is where you kind of have the little bit of a benefit when it comes to a controller. But I mean, it's not really it's the trade off from the input difference, is what I'm
Yeah.
going to say it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, dude, totally. Like I hated fusions when I first came over to MNK, and this is coming from someone who mains fusions. And it was because I didn't have that stickiness. And I also didn't have on the Xbox controller, like the trigger is so ideal for a fusion, right? For like ramping up the VOOP. Like
No,
you
yeah.
get to know the feel of the trigger pull and how much of the trigger pull how much of the trigger you can pull before actually shooting the weapon. So like it was muscle memory, like knowing how much I could pull on it, where on a mouse, like I'm clicking and holding, it's not the same feeling.
Yeah, I could imagine actually. I never thought about that. That's
You don't
interesting.
get the rumble.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I had it down where I knew the trigger pull and I also knew the thumbstick pull, and those two things together really made fusions shine. Same with snipers, like quick scoping with the controllers, amazing. Like it feels so good because of you get that stickiness. But then you can make the argument like the reason hand cannons feel good and snipers also feel good on M&K is because it's easier to put your mouse exactly where your eyes are, right? It's easier to find that target with your mouse. I think you have more maneuverability.
Yeah. For
On
sure.
M&K, I'm going to say that it almost feels more comfortable to do it that way. Whereas if you're using a spray and pray weapon, because you don't have that reticle stickiness, it's very unreliable feeling. So that's why we stick to the precision, at least for my experience. That's why I stick to the
Yeah,
precision weapons. Because if I'm using the SMG, I'm not sure I'm going to hit all my shots. Whereas if I'm hitting a hand cannon, I'm usually not shooting unless I'm sure I'm going to hit a shot.
but that's also why our recoil is less on those weapons. So like
Now,
the
oh,
Immortal
go
is
ahead,
going to
yeah.
have way more of a kick on a controller than it would on M&K just because of that stickiness or whatever.
Yeah. And we also need to consider the recoil stat itself. So, I
Yeah.
mean, one thing that folks kind of like on Twitter that a lot of people, I'm not going to say criticize, I'm going to say question me about. On my crafted round robin, the very first perk slot is arrowhead break. And folks are like, I don't understand. Why are you running arrowhead break? You should be using fluted because of the blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I tried it with all of the barrels, and arrowhead break is the one that I landed on because it gives me 100 recoil direction without any loss of stats. Chambered compensator, which also gives me 100 recoil, takes away my handling, which on a 120 hand cannon is very crucial. You need as much handling as you can possibly get for everything that you do with that gun. This is where stats are crucial and important. But anyways, coming back to the main point. Now, the further away from 100 we go, the more aggressive that recoil is going to feel. And if it does not land on a 5 or a 0. So if you have a 95, it's going to feel pretty straight up and down. If you have a 90, it's going to feel pretty straight up and down. If you have a 50, it's going to feel relatively straight up and down. Now, if you have like a 63, it's going to feel aggressive. And it's going to be jerking to a direction. Now, if you have a even or an odd number that is not a 0 or a 5, it is going to jerk in either one of the directions. There's a graph that we can provide in our Discord for it that explains it better than my words do, but anyways, that is the reason for my arrowhead break, is because it gives me that 100 straight up and down recoil direction on a weapon that already has predominantly existing aggressive recoil that is very difficult to control, I'm sure, with or without reticle stickiness. So it just kind of compensates and allows me to make those follow-up shots a little faster than if I didn't, and a little more consistently and reliably.
And
Yeah.
you can always I didn't know about this 0 or 5 thing. I've never heard that before.
I'll find the graph for you.
But you can definitely see on dim which way it's going to pull. I think, or I'm confident the right or left thing is not an even or odd number though. The right or left pull is based on the gun. So some guns are going to pull left, some guns are going to pull right. It's more common for them to pull right. But yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know about that, about the 0 or 5.
Yeah, it really helps big time.
Huh.
So yeah, that should help moving forward, hopefully.
All right, what else we got here for shoot? Blinting. How much do you guys use of blinting? Especially, I mean, hunters are the ones that I feel are kind of notorious for it and are really good at doing it. You know, with some of their exotics and whatnot. What do you guys use it for one?
Go ahead there, Fluffy.
I was just gonna say, I mean, I've definitely used it in the past. Like, I think anytime I'm using a gun, I'm going to pull out my other gun next to follow up and
Mhm.
clean up. Um, and that is kind of blinting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I'm using a bow or a sniper, like 100% whatever my other gun is, I take my shot and I immediately flip to my next weapon. Whether I land the shot or not, I am not sticking on that sniper or bow. I'm immediately following to my hand cannon so I can follow up with a shot. I've actually gotten to do that now with my fusion too. So if I burst with my fusion and I don't connect all my bolts, I immediately flip to my hand cannon and then start firing on them with my hand cannon. Because I know that I can pop off 2 hand cannon shots before I can get another Voop in typically. Um, it is kind of situational, but yeah, I think if you perfect blinting, you can be a very, very strong player because your TTK is so fast.
Yeah. That draws back into the dexterity mods we were talking about earlier as well, right? I mean, if you're gonna
Yep.
have a blint setup, you probably want to have that dexterity as high as possible for whatever weapon you're gonna swap to and finish off the target.
Yep.
Yeah, I was blinting this weekend in trials using Le Monarch and Round Robin.
Yep.
That's
That is
gross,
a
bro.
dirty, dirty
I
combo.
know. How dare you?
Were
Oh,
you using
man.
G Falcon as well?
No, I
Probably.
was not. I was using Stompies. So that way I could take a couple of shots and immediately just rotate, and then just take a couple of shots, immediately rotate, take a couple shots, immediately rotate. That it was just a cycle, and it worked.
Hey man, if it works,
I,
use it, right?
I wasn't sitting still, I'll tell you that much.
Continuing on with this shoot topic right here we got going. Your super and ability usage, and let's focus this in on trials itself, because that's where you can see you're not using your super, but maybe once a round or once a match. I'm sorry.
If you're a bubble or a well, right?
Yeah, or T crash. I get T crashes quite consistently in matches. But how do you guys?
Timing becomes more important, right?
Right, exactly, and that's
Yeah.
what I want to kind of talk about. Like, what's your thought process? Okay, let's give a scenario here. Okay, you're on. It's right now. It's 4-4, right? You're going into your final match. You have your super. When are you trying to use it? Are you trying to save it? Are you trying to use it off jump? Because there's been times that it's been successful for me on both. Let's save it for a oh shit situation or something to finish off the team. Or could you sit there and, like, for example, my T crash, like, There's been times that I was like, all right, I'm gonna beat it straight down line while they're still kind of grouped up and try to get us that lead or whatever, or possibly that win with one. So usage wise, timing, what is your guys' thought process?
I mean, dude, it really depends on the super and your scenario. So, like, if it's 4-4, and you have a T Crash or a Blade Barrage or something that you can do massive damage with right off the bat, there is definitely something to be said about trying to catch 2 or 3 people grouped up and like take them out. You most likely won the round at that point. Um, I think in general, like, if you have a super, it only makes sense to use it if A, it is the last round, or if B, you are in a position where it's going to benefit your team, right? You don't want to use your super if they have only one guy up and you have 3 guys up,
Mhm.
right? And vice versa. You don't want to use your super if you are the only person up and they have 3 people up and they're chasing you and it doesn't look like you're going to get away, right? I mean, maybe if you have a bubble and you can bubble a res and you think that it's beneficial to get that res up and you think you can 2v3 them based on how the games have been going, sure. But you really, really do need to look at, like, is this going to benefit my team or possibly win the round? And that's all I look at. Like, because the, so many people waste supers when the team is down and the super isn't going to do anything for your team.
Yeah, like at the panic super.
Yeah, like 100%. We played a game where we should have won, and our BlueBerry popped a well like around the corner from both of our orbs in cover. And we're like, bro, you could have just walked around the corner, popped your well, and got 2 reses, but you like popped it in cover, and there was no one by him either. So it's like things like that, like you probably just lost the game, right? Because 3 people will kill you out of your well. So I don't know, man. I think it takes you're gonna make mistakes learning when it's proper to use it, but you really have to look at the rounds, how many people are up, and whether it's beneficial to your team or not.
It's
Yeah.
almost like card reading, because I know that there's been times where, like, for example, it'd be 3-4, right? And maybe one of your teammates has a super, but the other team is sitting on a full stack.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said about trying to bait a super and see if you can get them to waste it. And I know that sounds scary, but listen, whenever
I
you're
feel it.
tempered to it and you're in the moment and you know that there's a bubble titan there that could just cap the point if he's smart enough to use it on the point and not behind cover when nobody's
Yeah,
around,
right? Yeah.
things like that. So, by baiting out that titan and wither hoarding him or something like that, as an example, you might have taken out that bubble that just might have one taking the game away from you, things like that. So it's how many cards are in your pocket, how many cards are in their pocket. Can your cards beat their cards? Keep that kind of a balanced mindset, because it's okay to use a super in round 3 as long as it's going to benefit your team.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, and
I,
also, like, what is your super? Is it a defensive? Are you using it
Is
to
it a
capture
well? Yeah.
point? Are you using it to shut down their super? Or are you
That's
using it to get kills, right?
exactly. And that was the last point that I want to bring up, is using it as a counter to their supers. Like I use T Crash almost exclusively, and most of the time I'm not using it to get the kills. I'm using it to counter another super. They're dropping that Well of Radiance, or Hunter pops off with his arc staff. Like shit like that.
Yep.
Those are big time game changing supers that can really have them almost guarantee the round. So if you're holding on to yours, like, watch who has super. Like you guys are saying, be aware of their cards, right? Watch their cards, and don't just be aware of where you can damage them the most, but where you can counter them and make them be like, oh shit, we thought we had this in the bag, But yeah, yeah, for sure.
Sometimes
Countering.
too, like, I've been playing with really skilled people who will get a super right away because they're slaying out. Like they'll get their supers very early and they'll pop it right away. And then my super at the end of the match is more about feeding them orbs than anything else.
Yeah.
It's, hey man, I'm at big numbers again. Pop your super so I can collect the orbs and I'll go wipe out the other team.
Yeah. A
Yeah.
double super for one person in a match is amazing. It's
Yeah, well,
huge. It's rare, but
those
if you're feeding them and maybe they
yeah,
got the Reaper mod on, dropping orbs everywhere, who knows?
yep.
Big time.
Ability utilization, just I guess hit that real quick. I mean, because that's very situational. Obviously, your grenades, your melees, um, your dodges, barricades, rifts, stuff like that. How, if you were to like just give somebody a suggestion, like so, we'll take you, Fluffy, for example. If you want to talk the maybe the warlock side of things, because I know you play all three, and
Sure.
and then Sweaty, you got the hunter. I'll take the Titan.
Um Warlock, I like running Ophidians. And I typically I haven't jumped on the firebolt train yet. So a lot of times I'll go in with the healing nade. And I'm using the healing nade and a healing well to play life. So I'm going in with my warlock, and my goal is to just stay alive. And so I'm running 100 resilience, 100 recovery. So I can take some shots but get my health back. Um, but I think about my abilities before I use them. Right, my only offensive ability is my melee, and the solar melee is good. Um, and you use it if someone's pushing you, you need to give them damage or whatever. That I'm holding on to. I'm holding that as my oh shit card, right? When someone pushes me and I'm not aware of radar or whatever it is, I need that little extra hit points to get the kill off. I'll save that. Let's assume I'm doing like a healing build. I'm going to use my grenade as a last chance or a last choice, and I'm going to use my riff first. But it is dependent on the scenario, right? Like sometimes you don't have time to put a riff down because they're pushing, but you can throw a grenade against a wall as you're dashing in the air away. So it is situational, but you need to think about which am I going to get back faster. And so that's always in my head, like, do I have time to use it, and which one's coming back first? So if I know if I use my nade, it's going to take a long time to come back. If I use my rift's going to come back a lot faster. And rift takes a lot of time to put down. So and I feel like rifts really give away where you are. So like in trials, putting down a rift and then peeking out of that rift, like everyone sees your rift. Like
Yeah.
they know they're expecting you to peek that lane now, right? So I don't like to use it to peek stuff. And instead I like to use it if I have to take cover and I think they can't close the gap in time. I'll throw it down behind cover, heal up, and then rotate somewhere else. Um so yeah, I think you need to use them, but you need to be aware of how do they best how do they best serve you? Like what are you going to get back quickly? What are you going to need? And just kind of go from there.
Yeah. Solid. The riff thing that cracks me up because there's too many times that people drop riffs on a sight line. I'm just like, all right, I'll just wait. I know you're gonna repeat.
Yeah, dude,
Like it's so
it's so
easy.
common. Yeah, and it's like a big like, hey, focus your headshot here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
What about
Yeah,
you, Sonny?
I've seen that many times myself as well. In terms of Hunter, so there's a few different ways to play Hunter in terms of PvP. You could play the Arc Hunter, Slidey Boy likes to slide in and electrify everybody, which is kind of similar to Warlock, if you would agree with the Arc
Yeah.
Warlock. So
Yeah.
they have a very similar play style, in my opinion. There's also the Solar Hunter. Now he's more of a trappy boy. He likes to snare you and punish you for making poor decisions and teabag you in Crucible and hurts your feelings. But I like to play Void, and the reason why I like to play Void is because, excuse me, is because my playstyle is very movement based. I don't like to hunker down into a spot for too long unless I'm playing a Titan. And even on Titan, it's not for very long. And yeah, I'm not one to sit down and make a camp in Destiny 2 PvP. The reason why I like Void is because a lot of folks like it for different reasons. It can allow, yes, with the G Falcons, there's an interaction where it gives your Void weapons things like Palindrome. What's it called? Volatile rounds. That's the word.
Yep.
But that's not my particular play style. That's not how I like to play. I don't, because in order to take, I find for those benefits, I have to think too much about them where I just want to run and go. So, I mean, I'm back to Stompies. I was off of Stompies for the entirety of Witch Queen because Omnioculus, before it became popular, by the way, I had been running for the longest time. And then, of course, with the incoming nerf to Omnioculus, I would run Young Umkaras for a very long time leading up to Lightfall, actually. That's whenever I would stop running them because new stuff. And of course, as soon as I get off them, they become popular. I'm starting to see a pattern here. But anyways.
Trendsetter. Trendsetter. Let's go.
But yeah, so I like using Void because it allows me to use Invis. And the reason I like Invis, a lot of people, I use it. There's a little bit of mistakes here. You should be using Invis to escape. I don't use it for that. I use it to push. I use it to trick you. So I will engage you in a lane with already an alternative lane in mind before I even take that engagement. And as soon as I have your intention, I'll disappear. I'll make you chase me. I'll come to the other entrance and I'll engage you from behind and catch you off guard there. And second you turn around, you're dead. So, I mean, that's just one of many tactics. Essentially, the Invis is a mobility tool to allow me to either reposition, rotate, or if I've done poorly, then escape if I have to. But yeah, that's what Invis is for me. I don't spec heavily into Invis to make sure that it lasts longer because it gives me too much of a stat punishment. So essentially, I just kind of go with the bare bones, whatever I got. And I just like to go fast. So as long as I can have Stompies on, use that for my sliding because I like to slide into my engagements a lot or slide into cover or slide away from you. I like to slide a lot. I don't really jump in the air a whole lot unless I'm trying to make that scenario that we talked about where you're trying to minimize, you're ADSing the travel time. If I'm trying to maximize that, I'll jump around. But generally speaking, I'm on the ground, boots on the ground, sliding somewhere. So.
On your abilities, are you using smoke bomb to mess with radar?
So that has to do with the fragments. You have one of two options. It could either be Trapper's Ambush, which is the one that I use to quick fall dive to the ground, and that gives the smoke bomb to your teammates. Or you can use Stylish Executioner, which also allows you to use more fragments. But I sacrifice the fragment for Trapper's Ambush, and the other aspect is the one where I dodge and go invis. As much uptime on invis as possible, so that way I can take a gunfight. Once a gunfight is done, I can leave that gunfight and reposition, or possibly take the next gunfight and then go invis to reposition, or just confuse the third gunfight. Whatever it is, it's basically just a mobility and a confusion tool.
What nade are you using on Void?
I mix between a couple of them. It depends on the map. If there's a lot of cover for the map, I'm going to use Axiom bolts. But if not, and if there's a lot of like singular lanes where people funnel into, I'll use suppressor nades a lot.
That's really funny. I'm like Spike all the way, dude. If there's cover, I'm throwing a spike on a wall just like a trip mine.
Now, something could be said about the void wall grenade as well, especially if you're in a gunfight. A Titan puts up their barricade and they're not reachable, then you could throw out a void wall grenade and that'll go through their shield and still damage them. They have no more cover. Sorry, Raider.
I still get punched. It's all good. Let's talk quickly on what I like as far as like the utilizations for for the Titan. I mostly run Arc almost exclusively. Every once in a while, I'll throw on Void or something like that, depending on different things. But it's mostly Arc, and honestly, I don't really care for using barricades as much as those are a crutch.
Interesting.
Mostly, I really like the thruster. I like the movement ability and the way you can like close a fight. You can like close a distance, like offensively use it to pop around the corner on somebody with, and you got the shotty ready or something like that. Also like getting out, like breaking contact. You can sit there and pop out of the sight line of the enemy that's hitting you, and you're good. And then the other thing I use for the thruster is a baiting mechanism. So if I'm sniping or something like that and they already got that lane, I might just go ahead and you know dash across with my thruster real quick and bait that shot out, and then I can repeat
Sure.
real quick. So the thruster, just the movement ability of it is amazing, on top of your other one, which is obviously your shoulder charge, with seismic strike. Like that, I mean, you're constantly moving with that, so that's an upkeep on movement ability. I try not to use that for damaging unless it's absolutely essential kind of thing, because I want to
Same.
have that up for movement. So that constant movement with that, and then when you do use it, if you have no choice, you should have a choice, but sometimes you want to get froggy. You're tight. You need to get out there and do some shit. So, um, having that and hitting them with your seismic strike, like it's gonna cause blindness as well, which can be a nice quick, 2 kills after
Super
you've already
nice.
done some damage to them. And then when it comes
Yeah.
to grenades, I like to use pulse grenades almost exclusively as well. Lightning grenades are okay as well, for certain maps. Storm grenades were the shit until they were not the shit
Got
anymore.
nerfed.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I was using that nonstop, man. Just watching people run around, like running away for it forever. It was amazing with the Touch of Thunder, the aspect. But pulse grenades, I like them because you can sit there and it's got a good radius to it. It lasts a good while. And you
Hmm.
can sit there and, especially if it's a point, like, or you have to capture some kind of objective, you could throw it on that objective and get people off of it that are almost capping it. So using it
Yeah.
for that, using it for you're getting chased down, like you lost that fight, 2 dudes are on your ass, you can throw it behind you real quick, and they're likely not going to run through it and keep chasing you. They're gonna halt for a second, and that could be your time to sit there, use your thruster, and get out of that fight. Um, so yeah, I like the versatility that a Titan has as far as engaging the enemy, disengaging the enemy, baiting with the thruster, closing down lanes or objectives with a pulse grenade, or using it as your retreat mechanism. You know.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that baiting thing, dude. I'll totally use Icarus Dash if I'm playing Warlock for that
Mm,
same thing, especially like if I see my teammate going up to snipe, I will purposely run behind them and Icarus Dash across the lane behind them to try and draw any snipers to me.
yeah.
Because that you can do that, right? Like if you dash correctly, you can draw a sniper off of whoever is sniping
Yep.
um
Yeah.
with the movement.
Whenever I play
Yeah.
Titan, I also main arc. I'm a ACDO feedback fence main.
Mm,
Um, so seismic strike is exactly what you just said. It's a mobility tool. It backpacking off of what Fluffy just said. You can also use it for baiting,
mhm.
run out there and get somebody's attention, and then just quickly, seismic strike behind a cover. And then put down a barricade to come around a corner. Half of their health is gone because they ran through the barricade that they had no idea you just planted there, and then you punch them and they're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do like Titan. Like I feel like Titan is probably going to be my main this season. But it's funny because I value the barricades so much in trials. Like I think there's so many uses for it. Like it's really good for three peeking. Like if you have a very common sniper lane and you want to see if it's safe to peek, like you can throw your barricade down on the corner and you get third person while you're throwing it down. And so like I'll throw it down and then I'll use my camera to peek the lane and then decide whether I can continue forward or go a different way. Um, as long as the enemy's not on you, you're like guaranteed to get a res if you throw it on your barricade correctly. A lot of times they'll be stupid and push around it or push through it, and you can usually pop a kill off. Like this weekend I had someone just run to the side of my barricade, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna hold on the res. Let me voop this guy real quick, and then go back to getting my res. Um, but something I saw, like our good buddy Marky Mark plays Stasis Titan,
Mhm.
and he uses the glacial nade. So he creates a glacial wall, and he was using that as a second barricade this weekend. And it was amazing some of the plays he pulled off, like just shutting down a complete fucking lane to get a res. And
Yeah.
there was nothing they could do about it, man. And I'm like, dude, like it's like a barricade on steroids, you
Yeah,
know?
it
Like
is.
it's just so much area that you just block off, and they don't want to be close to it because if you explode it, like they're dead. So yeah, it's cool that there are all those different approaches to even playing a subclass, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, the stasis one's not one that I mess with a lot, but I've played against some annoying. Uh, like I had a, it was on Eternity on trials, and it was the trial point capture to where the points like are like you got like a 10-second delay, points up,
Yeah.
go capture, and inside the tea room, if you'll call it, the hallway with the risers, you had three three titans that would run in there, all stasis titans with infinite barricades, basically, because you can sit there and replenish your barricade by breaking the other barricade, blah blah blah, and all that. Um, and they would just wall up the whole thing, and like there's nothing you could do. Like you were fucked. And then if you did get through, they had just different things to deal with you. You know what I mean? Like it was
Yep.
just yeah, it could be annoying. That's one thing I want to play with is a couple different builds. Like I crutch on this build so hard, and I try different things. Like I
Hmm.
do void once in a while. Void was a main thing before Arc 3.0 came out because
Yeah,
of the constant
absolutely.
Yeah.
overshield. I mean, huge. Solar is fun at times. With healing grenades and Laurelies, and you can really get like super tanky with that. Um, but there's other things that I've played against that I want to try to build and make better. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
it'll be
Well,
interesting.
Void's cool. Void's cool too because Void not only gives you the barricade over shield, but you also have the melee death over shield. Like as long as you kill someone with your melee, you got an overshield.
Yeah,
Even
And
as a
like
hunter, you get the overshield
that's
now.
oh, okay, yeah, it's super strong. Like this, it's a really strong thing to have. But I think Stasis Titan is one of those high skill, high reward type of classes. Like you got to put in the time,
hmm
but the movement is so stupid on it. Like
yeah,
Yeah.
you can really do some crazy shit with it.
yeah. That is true. I've seen some, and I played a game a while back with Mark, and I, I was surprised that he was running that, but he was popping off, and I was like, God damn, okay, teach me something here. But
Yeah.
the
Well,
the
and dude, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say the last thing on the void one. If you are a void type person that really likes it, on certain maps that have a lot of different hallways and corridors, which there are quite a bit of those, like especially in trials, where you gotta utilize those corridors. On void, I actually would sit there and take off my shield bash and throw on sentinel shield throw, so you could throw that
Yeah.
shield with a void wall spike or the void spike grenade. I mean, yeah, there's so many people I caught off guard with that. Like you throw that spike, they get damaged, and all you gotta do is bounce that shield right off the wall and finish them off, and gives you overshield on top of it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So,
I like shoulder charge for movement. Ghost is a really big void titan, and he swears by the shield throw. And it is stupid. Like the tracking on it's amazing. Like
yeah.
if you pop someone and they dip into cover to heal, I think it's like what 73 or so damage you get it with it. Like so if their shields are down, like they go into cover, you can just bank it off of a wall by them, and you're gonna hit them
hmm
9 times out of 10
Yeah.
behind cover. It's crazy.
And you got the Titan exotic that'll give you a second shield as well. So
Oh
that's
yeah,
always
forget
nice.
about that.
A lot of people don't use that, man. I had a really strong PvE build using that, and it was a lot of fun. You guys got anything else on that? I think we should probably start moving on here. It's getting a little
Nope,
long.
I'm good.
Let's just go ahead and jump into move, unless you guys had anything on the shoot aspect at all.
Well, no, I'm good on the shoot topic, but in terms of movement, I'll just say this. If you're just starting out, don't worry so much about your movement. Your movement will be something that you notice from other folks as you go, and then you'll learn to incorporate that into your gameplay. But if we were to break it down, this is how we would feel the discussion would go. So, you know what, Fluffy, why don't you break down what the mobility stat does for folks in Crucible?
Well, it's strafe speed, right?
Yeah.
And crouch, I believe.
So, what's that?
Strafe and crouch, I believe. I think crouch is
Okay,
sped up
yeah.
as well from it.
So it's not necessarily like you're moving faster, but when you're ADS, you're moving faster side to side, which can be good and bad, honestly. It means that when you strafe side to side, you will be faster, but that means that your aim is off, right? So you need to counter.
Readjust that.
You need to readjust is a better word. You need to readjust your aim because all of a sudden
You're right.
you're moving max rate left to right, and you might not be a good shot at 10 mobility. Like that might mess with you too much. That actually makes it worse for you. So like it's important to take that into consideration when we're talking about it. But obviously, the faster you can move, the harder you are to hit. So if your shot is on rocking 10 mobility, then maybe you're strafing enough that the person who's aiming at you can't track you or follow you.
Typically speaking, I would think that the mobility stat is going to be the most important when it comes to a hunter because it is
Yeah.
relative to your dodge. If you're on a warlock, of course you're gonna want to have a little bit of mobility, but it's not gonna hurt you to not have 80, 90, 100 mobility. Like it's not a big deal. You just throw on some transversive steps or throw on the Fidian aspects and you call it a day. You're good.
Changes your jump too.
Yeah.
Like our good friend Todd the Gator uses Blink, and I think the dude's crazy because he runs 10 mobility with Blink, which makes you blink higher.
Yeah.
So when you blink higher, you fall longer. And that means you're in the air for a longer period of time where you can't get out of the air. You don't have anything to like dodge or move yourself. So you're just falling and hoping that they don't have a line on you. I think it works for him. It works really well for him. Like
Yeah, he's really good with it.
Just because the general like consensus is do it this way, he's a good example of you can make whatever work for your play style. He runs high mobility on Blink, and most people would be like, you want low mobility on Blink because it shoots you out more horizontal than vertical, and you want to cover more ground than you want more hang time. But yeah, sorry, I didn't like mobility definitely can impact your jump height as well.
Yeah, exactly. So outside of mobility, in terms of movement, we got different routes, which comes with map awareness, and like I said, if you're just starting out, those types of things will come as you're jumping in there more and more. But in terms of routes, your map awareness and your coverage, understanding map composition, those types of things are going to come with time. But one thing that you will learn on an engagement to engagement basis, at least in my experience for what I did, I can't speak for you gentlemen, but to peak or not to peak,
That is the question.
right? That is the question. And you know what? There's never a correct answer because there's always a balance. Go ahead, Fluffy.
Is your health bar full? No. Okay, don't peek again. Did you already peek that lane once? Don't peek again.
Yeah. Unless you got thrusters and you just thrust to the side, throws them completely off.
Or you're confident that you can beat them.
True, 100%. To peek,
yeah,
not
exactly.
To peek. This
if
is
you
a
don't
discussion
got a full health bar. Don't peek it.
This is a discussion that me and Killer Monkey went over, arguing back and forth on a certain map, and it was hilarious. And he was like, "Stop peeking that." I was like, "No, you're not gonna tell me what to do." But yeah, That is
Yeah, I mean,
definitely a big thing.
how many times have you guys died because you peeked when you were one shot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Or how
you're
many
trying to
times
get
have
that
you been
hero shot. You're trying to
yeah,
get that
or how
hero
many
shot,
times have you been sniped because you peeked with your sniper and missed the shot and then re-peeked the
The
exact same
same
fucking lane
lane.
without crouching or sliding or jumping and instead just walked right out into the lane at the exact same head height that you
Yeah.
were when you peeked the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like,
Oh,
as
why
long
did
as
I
you
get
know the
shot
map,
there?
like you're talking about the map composition, under knowing the map, learning the routes, there's certain sides of the map that I almost 100% can guarantee I get there before they can. So that
Yeah.
if you're there first, peek it, hold the peak. Like still you're putting yourself at risk, of course, but if you can get there first, peek it. If you can't get there first, find another angle, in
Yeah.
He
general.
who lands the first shot usually wins the gunfight.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh and also like especially if you want to be good at sniping, watch good players and watch where they peak because it won't be the 50-50s. And the 50-50 being the most common place that people peak, right? Um they're hitting those at different angles.
Yeah.
They're hitting them from different spots, you know. A good player is going to know there's a little ledge actually like 15 feet back to the left that they can hop on and then they have a shot on you and you don't have a shot on them.
Yeah, exactly.
Always gonna the one thing in the army, I'll just bring one little army piece. I promise I'll stop talking about the army,
Yeah.
but like
No, dude, it's
this is
helpful.
so it. Like so when I was in Iraq and Afghanistan, like both of them, we would always change our routes. Whether that's mounted or dismounted, you always change your routes because the enemy, and that's the thing that was drilled into our head from our leadership is the enemy is always watching. The enemy is always watching. They get used to your constant routine. Like so that's the same thing in this game. If there's a constant routine, round after round after round, and they're peeking that same lane all the time or taking that same route, like don't
You
do
gotta
that.
switch it up.
Dude, yeah, you don't do that yourself. Like
Yeah.
capitalize on them doing it, but make sure you're not doing it yourself. Always change up your routes, always change your peak angle. Like keep them guessing, keep them on their toes at all times. The enemy's always watching, so just remember that one.
Yeah, I do. That's
Exactly.
so huge. Like not doing the most common thing and not doing the same thing round after round after round is like in your best interest.
Yeah.
And like dude, if you're in a gunfight and you have to take cover because you think you're gonna lose, immediately just rotate to a different position. Like
Yeah.
that position is now dead to you. Move on. Go somewhere else. Unless your teammate is there and you need to back them up, like go find a different angle that you can win.
Yeah, and that goes into another thing is being aggressive or passive. Like, I like to change it up a lot. Like sometimes I'll start off super aggressive. First round in, like it's high risk, high reward, but I'm gonna at least see how they're playing. So I'll play like dumb aggressive on the first round. Like let's rush them. Let's do this. Let's go straight down mid or straight down a certain lane, and see how they react. Did it work? Did you catch them off guard? And then after that, okay, now I'm gonna play back. I'm gonna play a little bit more tactically. So like keeping it changing as well as far as being aggressive or passive, I think is
Yeah.
another cool thing
Yeah.
that's more about like mind games. It's getting more of the mind games of the movement and maneuver, I guess you would call it.
Yep.
Yep.
And map is huge on that. Like this weekend's map really benefited people who played aggressively.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So it really just depends on what you're playing.
All right, gentlemen. Anything else on movement? We can go down to communication.
Good there. Yep.
Communication is huge. Even if you
Yeah.
don't, even if you're soloing, like I solo a majority of my time, um, and you can't there's no certain things to really communicate to your team members, but I feel like if you are a solo player that is playing in comp or trials or something like that, watch what they're doing because they got that visual communication. Are they, like we talked about, what's their routes like? Are they aggressive play style? Are they passive? Is one guy kind of sucking, like he's not very good? Maybe you need to back that player up. There's like some communication that you can get without even talking, I feel.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will definitely say I prefer to stick with the better player
Mm.
because the bad player is probably going to make a bad choice and it might cause you to die following them and trying to support them, where the better player is hopefully statistically going to make better choices. So following the better player and supporting them, maybe you'll be able to 2v3 the other team for all the rounds and let your bad player just go waste lives, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's 50-50. That could go either way. But I
It
like
really
that. I
can.
like seeing that side. I don't think Gator would appreciate that and how you're treating the new lights, but that's okay. That's another topic.
But I mean,
So,
like,
I'm just
Well,
messing.
they can have a job too, and I mean, they don't
Bait.
have to be
That's the
on the
bait.
front lines, right? They could always be
yeah,
in the back.
Yeah.
like the hope is that they're realizing that they're dying first and maybe they'll start sticking with you. Like if you're sticking with the good player and you guys are up and they're down right
Mm,
away, then they get to watch you guys work together and play together and maybe they'll stick with you
yeah.
next time instead of going off and trying to 1v3 the other team. Um
That's huge. That's actually a big brain comment right there. I didn't think about that from that viewpoint. They're watching you guys.
I think communication, my biggest thing that I tried to learn in D1 that I still try and work on is um the worst thing you can do is get on the mic and go, "Oh shit, I died." And I do this all the time and I try and constantly work on it. Or, "Oh god, he killed me," or, "Oh god, a shotgun." You know, whatever. Like that you're not helping your team at all.
Yeah.
You should say, "I'm down," and then immediately very, very calm call outs. Like
Yeah.
as calm as possible. I have one player on B. He is rotating to your left. You have another guy coming up on your right. This is a 1v1. This is a 2v1. They have two people down. Like whatever information you can give the people that are up, be their eyes, be calm. They're stressed out, right? They might be in a stressful situation. They don't need you yelling at them. They just
Yeah.
need all the information you can provide to them.
Agreed.
Exactly. Yeah, like that is so essential. It was a subtle thing that Fluffy just said, but like I really want to capitalize on it. He might have just said, calmly, right? That is, whenever your teammate is down, whenever they're not expressing that stress through the mic and they're just expressing nice, clear, concise exactly what Fluffy just said. That is such a benefit to your teammates. Here's why. They're your teammates, yes. They're responsible for getting your res if they can pull clutch. So don't just think that you can throw the L card away to the wayside. If there's a chance that your teammates can pull clutch, help them by communicating to them as much as you possibly can. Because like I said, they're responsible for watching your back as much as you theirs. So
Mm,
team effort. It
Yep.
helps.
yeah.
Can't speak enough to it. It's a big deal.
And the amount of intel that you can sit there and give them from
And
Yes.
from your ghost location, or say there's two people dead and from both ghost locations, to sit there and scan back and forth, like that's definitely big time.
exactly.
Games have absolutely been won based on just the call outs being at the right time versus being upset that you died or a shotgun or whatever it is. Like it's so hard to do, but just clear those airwaves and whatever comes out of your mouth should be helpful and calm.
Agreed.
Exactly.
100%.
Exactly.
That's probably one of the best things out of communication that we can get from this subject is what you said there. Um, One other thing that I know that I am liable of doing a lot, and I've been working on it myself, is calling out the remaining damage on an enemy, and not just being like, one, hey,
Yes.
he's one around the corner. You know what I mean? Like when, well, he was one. My bad. He's got
Yeah,
overshield.
you're right.
He had mask of the, or not mask, one eyed mask on. Now he's got overshield, and I just like I screwed you. My bad, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or even
Yeah.
just no shields.
yeah. No shields, half
Yeah.
health, quarter health,
Body.
like, but everybody, I think that's the go-to saying. He's one. He's one. You know, that's a little extreme. There's
Yeah.
very small chances that he's actually 1 HP.
Yeah, like one like I'll say he's one shot,
Yeah,
but like I try and reserve that for half of a health bar or less, right? Assuming that your single shot is going to be 60 hit points or higher, hopefully. Um, and then like you said, no shields or two shot. like would mean that their shield is gone and part of their health bar is gone, but you're gonna need 2 shots to take them out, whatever. Yeah, that's super helpful because if someone truly is one shot, um, that might be the decision for someone to push or not.
Yeah.
Like we had that this weekend. Like I went down and I told Mark, or no, Mark went down and he told me the guy's one shot and I was low, but because he said that, I pushed anyways and took him out, you know?
Yeah.
So like that can be huge as long as it's accurate, but you're right. You can totally burn your teammates too, because you can say one shot and then they throw down a healing nade, or whatever, and all of a sudden they're like full health, and then their homie comes up behind them and you're like, oh shit, no, he's full health, and there's someone behind him.
No, for sure. That's definitely a big one. I did want to touch on that one because I feel like that's one that I'm trying to get better at as well. Outside of that, when communication, we call outs, stuff like that. How do you do your call outs? Just out of curiosity, real quick. Like, do you use actual map like locations? Because I know on the radar, I feel like I should too, but I just haven't learned them. I haven't like sat there and paid attention to that specific name, and
it tells you. Like the worst part is in D2 they introduce this, and when you die, it says the name of the place that you died. Like it's literally stays on your map, and you can be like, I went down to the library. My callouts are very often control points, A, B, and C. And then there's a few things that I've learned from different maps that I'll call out. You know, like he's in dark. You know, he's in a tunnel or a room or whatever.
Yeah.
Or like they're in circle, like you guys know. Like
in toilet, endless veil.
Yeah. Like they drop down toilet. Like like
shapes
waterfall.
Shapes and colors.
Yeah.
Taking it back to kindergarten.
Yeah, but otherwise it's A, B, or C. Like I have 2 on B, rotating towards A.
Yeah. Me, I typically like. It's tough because I think this maybe sometimes confuses depending on the map though. Like outside, inside, mid, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, certain maps it works for very well. Jab 4 outside. I'm going outside, or there's a sniper outside. Watch yourself, or inside, or heavy spawn. Those are just some of the callouts, but
heavy
totally right. Like imagine if we actually started teaming together and learning these callouts legit of what they actually are. Could you imagine the communication? But that would just take some practice and drills.
When I play with Scrub and his buddies, they're really good at knowing the actual names of things. So they'll call out the actual names or colors, like they're red, they're blue.
Yeah.
Things like that. So
that's awesome. All right, guys. Anything else on communication?
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Don't be toxic.
Don't be toxic. There you go.
We're playing games to have fun. Don't if you get tilted, just go on mute. Like no one needs to hear it.
But if you're playing against me, just send me all the hate mail because it feeds me. I like it. I have no problem with it, honestly. And you're gonna get a dumbass response back, like I don't know, like Happy Cinco de Mayo, and it's February or something stupid.
Sorry, I meant don't be toxic to your own teammates. Like don't get tilted and be a toxic teammate.
True,
No, if someone messages me on like chat, I'm just having fun with it. Nessie and I played a couple games of trials on Saturday while we were waiting for the raid team, and we were just 2-stacking, and it was so funny because we played one game and we like 5-0'd that team and just walked all over them. Like it was one of those games where game 5, I died because I was literally just jumping with no cover because we had like stomped them the previous 4 matches. So I was just like balls to the wall, hold W, jump everywhere, like not even playing. And then I died. I'm like, oh yeah, we are playing trials. I should probably play cover and whatnot. We go to the next game and just get dunked on by like a really good team. And our teammate's like, Fluffy, you're really bad. I'm like, I just put in chat, I'm like, I know, right? And just left it at that. Like, dude had nothing to work with. So yeah, I'm with you, man.
That's the best way to deal with that. Deal with like people that want to like just talk shit and message you and just call you out on like in a disrespectful way. Just mess with them. Like don't don't let yourself get mad. Like, have fun with it, because once you sit there and you're not like typing back like, "No, you're bad," kind of thing or something like
Yeah, what
that,
are
it
you
just
gonna
feeds them.
achieve?
It just feeds them.
Yeah,
So like, just
yeah.
mess with them. Have fun with it.
100%.
All right, let's get into survive. We got these last two, and then I don't know if we're gonna get to some questions tonight. I know it's running a little long. We might have to save questions for next show. What do you think, Sweaty?
Yeah, we'll probably end up doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So last two here, and we'll put them together because they are very similar. Survive and adapt. So first off, survival. Like there's a couple little bullets here that we kind of came up with that can help you in your survival mode, and we've kind of hit on a few of these. But what do you guys want to hit on first?
Cover.
Cover.
Yep.
Know your cover. Like realistically, and I don't do this as often as I should, but if I was thinking sanely and my ape brain doesn't kick in, you should be moving from cover to cover strategically. Like wherever you are, you should know where your cover point is, especially as a hand cannon user. Like you need to use cover to your advantage and you need to be by cover. Like when you die, you should ask yourself, am I standing in the middle of fucking nowhere right now? Like, did I die because I couldn't react and get to cover because someone popped up on me? Like, cover is your friend and you should know where that is because that allows you to engage, it allows you to escape, it allows you to just do what you need to do when you're caught off guard.
Mm, for sure. 100% covers huge, 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 huge in this game. What about escape plans, Sweaty? Let's talk that. Because
Well,
that kind of goes hand in
it kind
hand.
of goes hand in hand with what Fluffy just said. They kind of compound together, if you will.
Mhm.
So, and the interesting point, I mean, Fluffy said that with hand cannons, yes, because these are two of the main skills that you're going to have to utilize 110% uptime if you're going to choose to main hand cannons. But they're not just special or unique to hand cannons. Now, of course, I am a hand cannon main, but what I'm saying is when I go to another weapon, that those lessons translate to another weapon. So if I'm using an SMG, if I'm using an auto rifle, as long as I'm aware of my range engagements in relation to the cover that I have available to me, that I can go next point, next point. And I don't know. It's it's a small point, but it has a big impact. If is what I'm trying to say, I guess. Um Yeah, you have to know your cover points, like Fluffy said, and in relation to those cover points, there's an escape route because there's always an entrance and an exit to each escape point. That's why
Yeah.
it's an escape point. It's a stop.
Yeah.
And they
So
know
you need
your
to be aware
escape
of that.
point, right? Like your enemy knows your escape point. So you have to judge on can you actually get away with your movement abilities, whether you're using strand, whether you're using Icarus dash or shoulder charge or invisibility, or is your escape route 15 feet and you got to turn around and just reposition on new cover? Because sometimes you can get away and like meet back up with your team and it'll be successful. But sometimes the gap is so small that really like your escape is just escaping to the next piece of cover behind you and relining up your shot, right? Getting your reticle where you think they're going to pop out so that they pop out, you can take your shots and get them and then continue your escape if needed or approach, whatever it might be.
You
Um,
find that escape is probably the most difficult basic skill to utilize in sixes because of that, like you said earlier,
yeah,
with the spawning behind you
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like there's no map control in sixes. And that's, I mean, like, I don't want to sound like an elitist or anything, but that's why I prefer threes. Like, I know that I can work on my skills and I can work on controlling the map and reading the map and knowing what's going on at all times. When you have too many people on the map, it's just chaos, man.
It's
It's
mayhem.
just
Yeah, for
shoot.
sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. No, I agree with
So
both
there
you
is a
guys. Those are
difference,
huge.
folks.
Yeah, it's huge. Finding your cover, escape plans. Revive awareness is another one there. Like you're going for that res on your buddy. Don't just go blindly into it.
and it's
Know
so
your cover.
hard.
It is hard
Yes.
because you want to get that person back in the fight, and if you don't have barricade or a bubble or a well or something like that, I mean, it might not even be smart enough to use that in that certain circumstance. I mean, that's very situational, but try to you need to take that tactical pause and assess what's going on in the situation. Are you on the offense? Are you on defense? Are you trying to counterattack or something like that? And then go for that res. Know that on top of knowing your cover and of course your escape plans.
And you literally have like a second to make this decision, because honestly, like if the res is open, it may only be open for a second.
Yeah. If somebody's
Like
not
you have
watching
to,
it either from the other side of the map, that's another thing you gotta be
yeah,
careful for.
I
yeah,
mean,
you
I'm
have to
guilty
basically
of that.
say like, yeah, dude, so am I. Like so many times I've gone for a res when I shouldn't have, or I waited a half second too long and I could have got the res, but I didn't act on it. And like you really do just have to like be aware of your surroundings. And as long as you're paying attention to the map, like maybe you just win a 1v1 and that opens up the res for you to go get, because the other two guys are fucking off somewhere else or whatever it might be. So yeah, it's hard. Reses are hard, man.
I mean, certainly in a trial situation, I'm definitely guilty, and I'm so sorry to anybody who's been on my team and I've done this. But I will absolutely use your revive as a bait just to put the enemy team into a bad position and to win the round. Yes, that does mean you take an
That's
extra
okay.
death, but we win.
Yeah, dude, that's the thing. Like for most of us, KD doesn't matter. I mean, really, like let's be honest, KD doesn't fucking matter. No one cares about your stats but you. Um, they're not doing anything for you in this lifetime, unless you're like Dr. Lupo or someone like that. Like it's not. It really doesn't matter. But if you win, like I would say the win is more important than I got farmed.
AD number, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, one last thing to touch on that. And I know I said that was a last little army kind of like terminology to go to it, but like one of the there might be actually one more in depth, but the one thing that I'll say is so in the army, the first step of first aid, right, of your combat lifesavers, which they called it when I was still in. I think they changed it recently, but is to gain fire superiority. Like you don't go for that down soldier or the down guardian that's right there because that's your first instinct is to protect to pick them up,
Yeah.
pick up your teammate. You need to gain fire superiority, meaning you need to have that lane or where he's at covered and locked down before you can approach and pick up that res. You know what I'm saying? So that's just something that I thought it just popped into my head.
Don't do what I just said to do.
Yeah, I mean, dude, and absolutely, like it's important because if the other team is doing the right thing, they should be using your res against you.
Yeah, as bait, as bait.
Yeah,
Honestly.
like they should be using it as bait and assume that you are going to that res.
Or if the coin's reversed, if you're the team that is succeeding, one of the enemy team is down, capitalize on that by moving to that position immediately and bullying
Yes.
the enemy team from getting that res.
Mhm.
Not on the position, but sight lines from cover at the position where you can cover it.
Exactly. Punish them for
Or
even thinking about it.
or like a sight line to a wall where you can throw a nade where they're going to try and res them from cover.
Yeah. That's where that pulse grenade comes in clutch. They start resing, you
Yeah.
can throw it. If you don't have like a direct sight line instantly on it, you can toss that nade on that, and that makes them back up, makes them probably take a little damage, and might allow you to push and take out that other guy as well.
Or if you're playing with Marky Mark, he's running headstone on all of his weapons.
Yeah. That's
So
annoying.
Yep.
You can't res.
You can't even get to the orb because there's just a crystal over it. And dude, it's so funny because I've seen so many people playing trials with him that go to get the res and they're just dumbfounded and they don't know where the res is. And so they're just like running around looking for it and just get killed because they like lose their map awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
their entire game is thrown out the window.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
All right, gentlemen, let's move on to the last one, adapt. A lot of this we probably already hit within survive and some of the other stuff we talked about. This first one I want to hit though is anticipating your enemy's course of action and their avenue of approach. Like how are they going to come at you? So that those are the one things you got to think about. Their course of action is going to be, are they going to be super aggressive? Like are they coming out hot at you all the time? Because sometimes those are the worst teams to go against, that run as a team aggressively. Like that's
Yes.
it's rough. It's rough, and you
especially if they're good.
Yeah, and it'll throw you off guard. And you're like, oh shit. So that's an adapt thing that you need to do. You need to sit there and adapt to it. Okay, I need to play either passively or rotate around with them, with your team, or do something. Try to think of a strategy to combat, their course of action, and then their avenue of approach is going to be what routes are they typically taking? Is there two going together, say down mid or right lane, and they constantly have one flanker that's bum rushing, from one side? Like looking at that, analyzing that, and it's going to take you a round or two, but you can start to maybe strategize and think of your steps, communicate with your team, communicate with them, tell them what you're seeing and what you think that their course of action and avenue of approach is, and then you can try to combat that. I think that's a big thing when it comes to like adapting to what's
If
going
you
on.
want, if you want to be really good too and use the tools that have just recently been given to us, make 2 or 3 builds with the same exotic and the same super. And then if you go in with the sniper and they're pushing hard, have your shotgun or SMG build there and swap to it the next round.
Yep.
Or mid game, swap to it mid game. Keep your exotic the same, keep your subclass the same, so you don't lose any of those abilities. But swap, hit that swap, get your mods all set up right on the fly, and now you've adapted to their playstyle.
100%. As long as and that's including all fragments too. So any fragment, anything, your grenade has to be the same. Everything has to be exactly the same, or else you're going to lose that super energy and your ability energy. And you can have a different exotic like weapon. You just can't have a different exotic armor piece. Just so everybody's tracking that. Yeah, because I do that. I love doing that, bro.
And
I
that's good
recently
too
found that it's
because
awesome.
like if you were using a weapon set that you used on your previous match, who knows? The new map may have different ranges for engagements. So maybe a pulse rifle isn't appropriate anymore, and you do need something a little bit more close range. Whereas, if you were swapping out your armor exotic piece for benefiting supers and stuff like that, that's the whole reason that they put this in there, so that would prevent it from being, shall we say, in the end game of the PvP experience.
Yeah, for sure. I think we hit on most of the other stuff. You even talked about addressing tilt. Did you want to expand on that at all, Sweaty? I know that was one of the things that you really had put out as one of your bullets.
I mean, we really hit the nail on the head, I think, whenever we were talking about communication, because that is where the tilt becomes a problem. That's where it bleeds or is the communication. So I mean, are you gonna sit there and you know have everybody else not be able to hear for a week? Or are you just gonna, maybe relay where the enemy position is and what's going on? Maybe they didn't see a different rotation from the enemy team, things like that. Like rather than just being distracting and not helpful to the team, there are different ways that you could be productive and a benefit to the team, and also keep things, and if you're helping your teammates keep a light heart in what is already a stressful playlist to begin with, like
Yeah.
not even just trials, like comp, just Crucible in general, really, because it's a different type of pressure in the game, and a lot of folks are a little maybe timid or shy of that pressure, maybe aren't used to that pressure, and aren't really just overall familiar with that pressure. You have to respect that. People have to be welcome to dip their toes into a playlist. That has to be a thing. It can't just be everybody's going flawless all the time, constantly, in every single quick play match that we play. We've experienced that just recently in season 19, and nobody wanted to play it. It was not fun. So I think that although in the overall experience of things, I like the direction that we're going in terms of PvP. And I look forward to seeing the mid-season patch and the other growth directions that we'll see with PvP. But coming back to our main topic, shoot, move, communicate, survive, and adapt. A lot of these, like, we could spend hours even just talking about just one singular of these topics.
And we have.
Yeah,
We're coming up on 3.
exactly. So, it really, at the end of the day, these are all things that you're just going to learn on the fly as you go, the more time that you spend in there. And the initial shock of PvP is going to be your biggest barrier that you're going to have to get past. Everybody has to go through it, myself included. Like I said, I started with a 0.42 KD, modest beginnings. So everybody goes through it. Once you get past that barrier, though, that's no longer a weight on your chest. It's no longer a weight on your shoulders. Assuming that Crucible is something that we want to pursue, that you enjoy, and is a type of challenge that you want to see personal growth in and feel the rewards of, then yeah, I think that anybody can do it. It's just a matter of wanting to do it. And if you don't want to do it, then you're not going to do it. And that's okay, because Crucible is not for everybody. That's fine.
Yep. I do want to say, so you guys have a thing on here, embrace or challenge the meta. I think that this is important. I'm gonna give my little soapbox here.
All right.
You should play. You should first of all do you, right? Like what you like. That is what it is. But don't make rules for yourself that don't really exist in the game and then try and get down on others for it, right? If playing the meta isn't your thing, that's fine. But you're creating fake rules in a game that don't exist. Like, the meta is just the best tool to get a kill. It's the best tool to get the job done. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, there's probably a lot of arguments that say you are a smarter person for using the best tools available to you to get the job done. So don't let someone else impose fake rules that they've made up for themselves on your gameplay. If you want to use the best tools to get the job done, do it. You should do it. You know, if you're gonna do woodworking, you want woodworking tools, right? You don't want to necessarily just go in with woodworking with a chainsaw and a spoon. Like, that shit, you can do it, and you might be pretty badass, but like, is that what you want to spend your time doing? Are you trying to like bang your head against the wall like more than you need to? Now, that doesn't mean that you only have the option to play the meta, right? Like, you have a great example here, Immortal and Drang, right? They're two very good options. Drang has been shown to be a good counter to Immortal. So is a good snipe shot. So is a well-positioned shotgun shot. So is a fusion rifle. Hell, I have better range and I can kill them before they realize what's happening. So, like, it's okay. I guess point being, right? Like, don't worry about other people's perception of you. Don't worry about other people's made up rules that don't really exist in the game. Like, find the tools that work best for you and make you successful and just practice with them. Put in the time. It's the best thing you can do.
Yeah, I call what you're describing. I have a term for what you're describing. This is something that I've never shared before. This is the first time, but I would call it the non-existent honorary air quotes rule book. So if you use a monarch, then you're a this or you're a that, or other people shoving identities down your throat that are non-existent and their own problems and their own personal narratives.
Right.
And you know what? If you want to use a round robin and monarch and trials, you go right on ahead, Guardian.
Go for it.
You might even go flawless with it and
You
have a
might.
good time and enjoy yourself.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No.
As the old Crucible radio used to say, use what you like, don't apologize.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I think that's a beautiful way to close this out. Yeah. Shit. Hey, I ain't got nothing else. If there's anything else, let me know. If not, we're gonna skip questions for this show. We'll definitely hit them hard. Probably in not next show, but maybe the next one after that. We'll see. We'll see what comes to be. But got some quick announcements, and we're gonna call it a show. You guys good with that?
Yes,
Cool.
sir.
All right. Announcements, real quick. Just some of the stuff that's in our Discord. We do have a Discord. Come join us, and there's a community creations tab where we like to shout out who posted for the week in that, and Night Demon coming through clutch as he does weekly now with Shada 1 and This Week in
Love it.
Destiny and the stuff you can post there. Sweaty, you had a short. I'm sure you maybe had a few good streams throughout the week as well. Did you want to say anything about your short right there?
Round robin. Okay, so this is an interesting short. It's less than a minute. I think it's like 48 seconds or something. So something happened in trials. I was streaming. I had the benefit of streaming, so I was able to clip it. Thank goodness. And I got a team wipe with round robin. But the thing was, I only shot at 2 out of the 3 people, and the third person died. And the X came up on my reticle that they died from my weapon, but I didn't shoot at them. That's correct. You're hearing this right, Guardian. I had to record the footage because I didn't know what happened in the moment. Everything happened so fast. And I was just like, okay, I was like, I celebrated and I was like, wait, what just happened? I was like, I only shot at 2 of them, but I got an entire annihilation. Why? How? So I like it blew my mind. It was driving me insane that I didn't know what happened. So when I watched the footage back, I had to piece this together. I had to watch it a few times because I like it confused me for such a long time. So round robin, I believe I was using backup mag mod, Mr. Marky Mark. If you're hearing this, brother, you know what's up. Because without it, you're only gonna have 8 rounds in the mag. But anyways, irregardless, 3 people are up on the screen. There's one on the right. There is one in the middle. There is one in the left. The one in the middle the middle person is non-existent on my screen. I don't see them. I have no idea they're there until they're dead. Person on the right is the first person I choose to engage or shoot at first, rather. Once he goes down, I think he took 1 shot at some point from some third party, so I only get 2 shots off on him. But he died from my gun. So moving on to the second person, that was on the right side of my screen, moving on to the left side of my screen, the other visible person. As I start shooting them, I take them out. They were being shot at, so they had low shields. I only needed 2 shots. They were dead. But, no, sorry. Correction. I think I only hit them the 1 time. And after they died... No, I had to think about this because it is how the origin trait works. This is the part that confused me, and this is why I had to think about it. On the 4th trigger pull on a hand cannon, the 4th bullet coming out of my gun on a round robin, I get a nanotech tracer rocket. I'm not sure how much damage it does yet, so don't ask me for numbers because I'm not 100% certain.
60 or 70, something like that.
Okay, so that tells me that the shields, again, must have been down somehow because I 2-tapped the first person, 2-tapped the second person, and then the rocket that came out from 2-tapping the second person is what killed the third person somehow. Is what actually happened in the video, again, which is why I'm confused, right? So I'm watching this, and I did get the 3rd shot off on that first person, but they were already dead. So again, going to the second person, again, the 3rd shot, I was shot, but they were already dead. And the tracer rocket was going on the shot that killed them. And you watch it tracing towards the Guardian, but then they die with the last bullet that was fired. As soon as they drop, the nanotech tracer rocket changes its trajectory towards a hidden Guardian that I can't see. And then I just noticed on my reticle, there's the red X that I got to kill. You hear the zink, Guardian down. And I was like, what? So anyways, that's what the clip is. It's just me losing my mind that I secured this kill somehow because it's just like, to me, it seemed like a 1 in a million shot. Like there's no way you would ever be able to like get that clipped.
That's awesome, man.
Well,
yeah, those rockets are cool. They have like... Lego to put up a video for fusion rifles, and a rocket shot off of his fusion rifle that he crafted, and it went around the corner and hit someone in cover.
Oh shit! Hell yeah!
Yeah, like, that's how I got that kill. But it was in a trial setting where all the kills, like they were engaging my other teammates as well, but it just so happened that the kills came from my gun. But in the moment, everything happened so fast. Yeah. That I was just like, wait, I got the team wipe, but I didn't shoot them enough for the... What?
That's rad. That's super
That
cool
is
that you
awesome.
got that.
And you got some artifact mods right now this season to help boost that too, make those a little bit stronger and more efficient. So I'm curious
Yeah.
if that had, I don't know if you're running that or not, but
I
hell
don't
yeah.
think I was at that particular gunfight, but yeah. Anyways, that's what that video is about.
Yeah, make sure you guys go check that out. And then finally, I had a Arc Titan PvP build, kind of the one that we kind of talked about a little bit throughout this. Go check that out. I got a couple tips on some of the shit we talked about here too. So maybe you don't need to watch it, but just go watch it anyways. Hook it up. And then I had a little trials, annihilation. Not as like cool as yours, and majestic and whatnot. But I just got a couple. It was just a nice quick, like, I got all 3 kills super quick. Caught somebody off guard after getting a double snipe on a couple guys. So yeah, that's what we had there. And lastly, for announcements, that's it as far as the YouTube. But I just wanted to shout out some of the people that were here in the chat. Fluffy, you were here, of course. Thank you in the chat, and you got to see his beautiful face here. Legend Hero 24, Jack Jansen, Sauce the Waffle, one of our own right there. And Kibby.mp4 in the chat. I am gonna get better at this to where I can react to the chat, but we were having technical difficulties at the beginning that had me like looking like probably a madman. But yeah, that's it for announcements. That was it, guys. Here's episode 13
Awesome.
in the books. But before we go, first off, like, thank you, man, for coming on. Especially this was last minute, and you spent quite a bit of time and gave us some great like insight to your PvP and mastering the Crucible basics. So really thank you for that. But for those that want to know more about you, your podcast, of course, that we're all a fan of and look up to. You guys are kind of like almost like our awesome uncles, or
Amelia.
for real. Please tell us about you, your podcast, and everything else like that, real quick before we get out of here.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm stoked to be here. Like, I really enjoy you two. I mean, obviously we play together, so we're friends, but
Yeah.
I enjoy what you guys have going. Like, I think you make a really good show and an entertaining show. Like, your personalities work really well together. So I'm stoked that I got to be able to come on because I listen to the show every week. So it's always cool to like be a part of that. So I dig that, guys. So thank you for that. I'm Fluffy. I'm part of Potato Thumbs. Um, yeah, we're part of this community. It's a rad community. Um, episode 300, 420. It's gonna be stupid.
Whoop, whoop.
Check it out. That's all I got.
Hell yeah. Awesome. What about you, Sweaty? Where can the people find you?
Everybody can find me either on Twitter or YouTube at sweaty_spooks, ending with Z as in Zulu. You can also find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/SweatySpookz. And I guess you can find me on Instagram too. I look there from time to time. Every little once in a while, I'll post a picture every once in a blue moon. But outside of that, that's pretty much it. You can find me in the Discords, in the either BlueBerry Lounge, Potato Thumbs Podcast, Guardian Downcast, Two Titans and a Hunter. You name it. We're there.
Yeah. And you could basically find me the same, all those different places, except for change the name from SweatySpookz to Native Raider. That's N8IV space R8R. And I really thank you guys for listening. Sweaty, you want to take us out?
You got it. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is SweatySpookz, Native Raider, Fluffy Fingers, and in spirit, Admiral Nips.
Yes, sir.
GG's Guardians, may your stars be bright and your ghosts sharp.